You have found the Open Eclectic Podcast, where Nate and Josh talk about everything from mobile games to books to pet peeves to cars to toys. Our interests run eclectic and we're open to more. Welcome to the Open Eclectic.
Do you feel the need? The need for speed?
Ow!
Ow!
Boy, do I ever.
Well, what is up, everybody? It's been a while since we've had an episode.
It has.
How long has it been?
Too long. I was on vacation, then I was sick, and that really derailed some things.
Yeah, the last one was it the energy drink one?
Oh, man. I hope not.
Oh, God, I gotta look at
that was so long ago. I feel a little ashamed now.
You know, the life of a celebrity is not...
It's not easy.
It's not easy being...
No. Last episode was Batman. We talked about Batman with Andy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. Energy drinks was before that. Yeah.
Which still feels like it was a really long time ago.
It does feel like a long time ago. Sorry, Andy. Sorry.
Everybody.
I know you're one of our loyal listeners, so... Thank you again for coming on and discussing the Batman with us. Today, or tonight, whenever you're listening to this, we're going to talk about Top Gun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to stop before I get too deep into it. So Josh and I went to see Top Gun Maverick 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, thereabouts. 2 weeks ago.
And boy, let us tell you, and we will, but let us tell you right now, it was awesome.
It was great. It was incredible. I told Nate, I think we were talking, and it was like, we made a comment as we sat down, and it was like, all right, I'm not going to clap at all. I don't want to do that. I want to be that guy in the theater. Mm-hmm. And then we clapped, and it was like, I'm not going to cry in the theater. And now I might have cried a little.
Yeah, well, we were watching it, and like, so yeah, I said that to Josh. I'm like, man, I wonder if people are going to clap. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy.
You're one of those guys.
Everybody was, I mean, for one, it was a Tuesday night, and it was packed. Like,
unbelievably
tons
packed.
of people there.
Yeah.
And the vibe was cool. Like, everybody was having a good time, was into it.
Right? There was somebody who, like, I could hear little bits who was sitting on the other side of you who kept making comments or something like that. And I was like, who is this person? They sound interesting. I forget what she was saying. She was like, I don't know. She was like, oh, yeah, there's the F-18s. There's this, and there's this. Oh, yeah, from the first one. And it was like, yeah.
Oh man, I didn't hear that person.
No,
man, I must have been zoned in.
You were zoned. You were pretty tight in there, yeah.
But yeah, it was great. Like all the little moments, and you know, everyone was like, there was laughs. You know, people were like, yeah, you know, that was cool. Oh man, that was cool.
Yeah,
a lot of that stuff. Are we? So we should demark here. Like, okay, right now it's spoiler free. Do we want to get into spoilers at all?
I mean,
it is a newer movie.
It's a newer movie, but it's been out for like a month or more. I feel like I think we always try to like do a chunk of the episode where we're spoiler free, but honestly, I think we can't.
Like it's gonna. The only thing I really feel like would be a spoiler is that escape at the very end.
Yeah,
that's because when I saw that, I was like, oh man, that is awesome.
Yeah.
So cool. Maybe we should just, I don't know if I can do it. If I can just be like, okay, spoiler section starts right now, and then we go, spoiler section ends right now. I don't know if I can do that.
I don't think so. I think this is a no holds bar discussion.
Yeah, we have to. So if you haven't seen Top Gun, the new Top Gun Maverick,
or the original Top Gun,
or the original, really.
I mean, we could drift in that direction.
Yeah. So beware. So if you want to, you know, check those out right now, the original Top Gun streaming on Paramount Plus. Just confirm that.
Just putting that out there.
Yeah, putting that out there for you. And Top Gun Maverick, of course, is still in theater. They filmed it in IMAX.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how freaking cool that would be to see it in IMAX?
I was like, we don't have an IMAX showing it here, but in Omaha they do, and I was like, That might be worth driving.
Is the only how many IMAXs are in Omaha? Because all I know about is the one at the zoo.
I think there's another one at one of the theaters.
World famous Omaha Henry Doorly Zoo, by the way.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
World
so
famous
do you think there's another one?
I think so.
Okay.
I couldn't swear to it.
Because there's like, that's I don't know how long that's kind of been. I mean, IMAX has been around
For a while.
since I was a kid. Because I remember they were doing it with like. They'd take an IMAX camera up on like space shuttle missions and stuff.
Yeah,
and,
it used to be like nature, documentary,
roller
space stuff only, and now people are like, no, let's make a movie.
When
in
did they
IMAX.
start like showing movies in IMAX? Like actual, not like documentary stuff, but like actual like blockbuster movies.
The earliest one I recall is Lord of the Rings.
That was an IMAX movie.
I don't know that it was shot in IMAX, but they showed it in IMAX
yeah, I guess
theaters.
that's different, yeah.
Which not the same exactly, but like that's the earliest I could think of, and being like, ooh, yeah, that would be cool to see in IMAX.
Because like the Christopher Nolan movies, at least like probably from like Batman forward,
yeah, most of
were
them.
probably all like IMAX-y. But I read that Maverick specifically like was filmed with IMAX cameras, so
Yeah, I thought I read
really
that.
cool in an IMAX theater. Yeah, so we I guess we weren't really quite. I wasn't quite sure what to expect. I was like, I mean, I'd seen the trailers, right, and we've been waiting somewhat impatiently since they delayed it like at least twice.
Yeah. Well, and Tom doesn't do a lot of, with the exception of like the Mission Impossible movies, he doesn't really do sequels, right? That I'm aware of.
I guess not.
And with the Mission Impossible movies, like we're in a groove now with those, I believe. But like, there's a huge, like tonal shift from Mission Impossible to Mission Impossible 2 to 3. Those like all those movies feel very the same, but also very different.
Like the first one was really like, I guess I don't remember if it was really similar to the TV show necessarily, but like it was like it had action, but it wasn't just like blow your mind action. I mean, there was like that wire,
Yeah, the wire and
scene
the
in the
helicopter.
train and the helicopter thing, but it's like,
But it was like it was a spy movie. It was like American James Bond.
it wasn't like over
Kind
the
of.
top, like wild. Like I feel like they've really kind of gone to
Yeah.
now, like with the subsequent ones.
Yeah.
And that first one, man, we should watch those sometime.
I recently
Again.
started watching MI2 again. Actually, like
Well,
I'm partway
MI2
through
is
it.
where he gets that like. That's where they do like start
The mask
yeah.
things. Yeah.
And the hair, like he had really long, like really like just
Long shaggy hair.
shaggy hair compared to the first one where he had like almost like a flat top maybe, or
Well, it was like a. Yeah, it kind of was. It was like a crew. I don't know how to describe it. In the wind blownness, it definitely turned into like a weird flat top. It's very weird.
But like the second one, it feels like you say wind blown. It feels like they gave him hair to specifically make it look good when it like the wind blows.
Well, don't forget
because
Mission Impossible 2 is also a John Woo movie. So there's like doves.
very stylized.
Very
like,
stylized.
There's lots of like coming like directly at each other and like rotating and like
Yeah, like a bunch of times. It's very. It's in a league of its own movie wise. So I think his hair really went well with it. And the Mission Impossible movies are like reflections of Tom Cruise's life as well. Like he was Mission Impossible 2 is when he did like the couch thing and stuff, and where he's like jumping on a couch. And he's like, I was crazy in love with
Katie
her.
Holmes. Like,
Yeah, Katie Holmes.
that was such a long time ago.
And that was like the crazy Tom part of his life, and then he got like regrounded again for MI3, and MI3 got regrounded. Anyway, that's like a whole.
I don't even remember what was MI3 the one with Kerry Russell that died early. Spoilers. Died.
Maybe.
Like she had the bomb in her brain, or was that a later one? They like swoop in like a helicopter and they rescue her, and she's on like the floor of the chopper, and he's like, "It's gonna be okay." And she's like, bleh. You know, the bomb goes off and scrambles her brain, and she's dead.
Man, I don't remember. It might be. It's been a really long time.
I don't even remember. See, there's one Mission Impossible 1, and then after that, it's all just kind of like bleh. Like it's just mission and bleh.
Some of them I think are actually pretty good.
Well, I'm not
Like-
okay. I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying they're bad, but it's just like for me,
They
like
blur
my
together.
memory and like I just
Yeah.
It's all just kind of like, blah, I can't really differentiate between what they were.
So I can't think of another sequel he's done, though, other than the Mission Impossible movies, which aren't, I think we can say aren't sequels anymore. It's a franchise.
Yeah, it's just another part of another mission.
So with that,
problem.
there was no baseline for me to say, oh, I know what to expect from a Tom Cruise sequel. It was just like, I don't know, we're going to get Crazy Time like MI2, or is it really going to be a true grounded
and
sequel?
I mean, it's been so long. Like, it's been 1986 is when the first one came out.
Right? That's just an insane gap.
That is my life. That is my entire life minus 2 years.
I mean, it's my life minus one. It's ridiculous.
It's my entire life between, basically, our entire lives, basically, between the first Top Gun and this one.
Well, it's not like some other things, like Star Wars, where there were books in between and stuff. So it kind of, there was little things to kind of,
and I mean,
seed it out.
Honestly, I mean, like, you couldn't, I mean, I guess you could do that, but I mean, Top Gun was pretty thin as far as like
plot-wise,
like lore. I mean, you can't even say there was lore.
I was watching a little like micro documentary on YouTube recently, and they were talking about how there was basically no plot for Top Gun. They realized at the end of like all their filming and stuff, they were like, "Ugh, there's like no plot going on here. What did we do?"
They put the sex scene in?
And so they were like, okay, well let's shoehorn in some dialogue. And so when they're in the planes, the dialogue all changed, and they were like, well, they're wearing masks, so you just kind of make them say whatever you want. Oh. And then they had to.
I totally believe you, by the way.
The elevator scene when Tom goes in and
after taking a shower, and Charlie's in
there, and she's in like the black uniform with the hat on.
Yeah.
Like, she's wearing the hat because she had to come back from another movie and her hair was different.
Oh, I bet it was short.
And you can look at Tom's hair and it's not the same either.
Oh, man, that makes total sense because, like, because he had left because it was after the volleyball scene and he went to her house for dinner and he's all like, I think I'm going to grab a shower. Is that okay? And she's like, yeah, I do mind. And I'm hungry.
He's like, no, I'm grabbing a shower.
So then he leaves, right? And then so he's taking a shower at the base, and then that's when he goes in the elevator. But yeah, totally man. Oh, you got to send me that because
I'll see if I can find it. Yeah, it's really interesting. We'll post a link maybe if in some of our social media places so people can follow along with us. It's wild. Yeah, there was like the plot was apparently super weak, so they were like having to resplice stuff, and then they were like there were talks about doing a sequel and using the cutting room floor flight stuff.
Oh, okay.
But they used all the usable footage. So it prevented like a crappy direct-to-video sequel, which I think has turned out well.
That's good. I'm glad they didn't do that. Well, for one, it wouldn't fit with this sequel, obviously, because they use different planes.
Right.
And
well, yeah, waiting so long would have been a problem.
Yeah. Like, so you see this part of it, they're flying in these F-14s and training and stuff, but then in this part they're using F-18.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, that's a good thing they didn't do that. That totally makes sense though with the elevator because it's like it's so out of place. It's just like I mean, when I've always watched it, I didn't really think of it, but then after hearing that, what you said, and then kind of thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, like why the hell is she wearing a jacket and a hat? She doesn't do that in any other part of the movie. No, it tickles the back of your brain like something's not right. But it's like you got to remember too, like 80s movies, they had that kind of stuff in there intentionally sometimes, where you were like, this didn't make sense in the movie. Okay, we're doing it. That's fine. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't like social media to like cancel the movie, pick it apart.
Yeah,
whatever. Man, that's cool. That's interesting. I'm gonna watch that.
It's weird to think about how the movie started out with like super weak, basically no plot, but at the same time I was always like, this is one of the best plots. It was simple, straightforward. Plot of the original is, hotshot fighter pilot who works his way into Top Gun, which is like the elite Navy flight school.
He's an alternate. And the only reason him and Goose go is because Cougar quits.
Taps out.
Cougar lost it.
Turned in his wings.
Yeah. He was number one. You guys are number two.
Cougar's out. You're number one. Yeah. I mean, like the dialogue is not like this witty like rapid fire repertoire, but at the same time, it feels kind of real for somebody who's not in the service, right? And as a kid watching it for the first time, especially, like
it does. It has a cool factor. I mean, they definitely got the cool stuff, like the little quips and things, and I mean, it was funny. Like there's tons of funny lines, and the whole like keeping up foreign relations.
It was like it was oozing with machismo, but it kind of made sense because of what they were doing. They're
fighter
like
pilots.
Ace pilots.
They're all all
weren't
like
aces yet, technically.
They're alpha, They're all like the best of the best, the testosterone and
introducing themselves by their call signs, which was just like I've recently learned. I never thought about it before, but I recently learned that like that was for the movie. Like in real life, your call signs are terrible and not good, and usually they're insults, but they're like describing a small characteristic of you, typically something you don't like.
Right.
I think
your other like squad mates pick it for you.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah.
And and then obviously in Top Gun they're all cool. Like they're all like cool call signs. You're like, oh man, I'm gonna join, and all these little kids are like, I'm gonna join the Navy and I'm gonna be Maverick.
I got my call sign picked out and everything. Yeah,
they're like,
that's not how it works. Yeah, with the exception, I will say though, with the exception of Goose and Maverick, because being a Maverick is not a good thing when you're talking about coordinating team stuff.
But again, I mean, it's an awesome call sign for him because he's a Maverick,
right? And then Goose, like. That one to me is the most realistic one. I don't know why. I don't know.
It's like why the hell would anybody want to call themselves Goose?
Yeah,
and
then So I do kind of want to know if they do call each other by their call signs like all the time, or if it's like not.
I bet Andy could chime in.
Andy probably could. Yeah,
he's not Navy but Marine.
Eli could too. I don't know if he listens.
Yeah, your brother could too. Yeah.
I'll have to tell him to listen.
Yeah, I mean, do they walk around and have? I mean, because it's like it's only the pilots really that help call. I guess pilots and the weapons system officer, the backseat folks,
backseater.
But it's like most of the other people that are around here, they're not going to have call signs. So
well, no, and they wouldn't. I don't think they do.
No, right? Yeah, I mean they don't in the movie either.
It's
it's like the pilots are walking around like everybody else on base, and they're just like, they're like the other people that don't have call signs. What are they? They're like, shoot, I don't know what to call you because you don't have a call sign.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, you! Over there!
Yeah. Like, just that original cast and the chemistry that they managed to create.
I feel, insane.
That
original cast, like you said, chemistry, I mean, that cast was awesome. I feel like it was great, although, I mean, I'm not a huge, like, Kelly McGillis fan, but I mean, she did fine. She did fine in her role, and
some of it is really era appropriate. Like that's the thing to kind of keep in mind.
You could. It was definitely an '80s movie.
Yeah, like
for sure.
Like the scene where Tom Cruise follows Kelly McGillis into the bathroom, into the ladies' room. Like
that wouldn't happen. Not today.
I saw there's a YouTube channel called Legal Eagle. Mm-hmm. That's great, and he does sometimes it's real life like law stuff, and he's like, well, here's the law on this, and here's the law on this, and then other times he's like, well, let's review a movie.
Did he do Top Gun?
And he did one. He had a JAG officer come on, and they talked about Top Gun, and they were like,
Maverick would be arrested here.
They were saying that he could be executed because
like court-martialed and executed.
Yeah, because like if they engaged the enemy and then he like continued on and did these other things, he's like those things are bad if you're not. But technically, because they engage the enemy, we might be at war, and like wartime law would apply, and then violating like the Navy code and stuff, he could be like technically, worst case scenario, they could just be like sentence him to death
because he provoked the enemy and got them into a conflict.
I forget the specific reasonings. It was kind of wild, and I was like, wow, that's insane. He's like, let's count the number of times that Maverick could be court-martialed. It was a lot. I don't remember what it was. They might not have kept a tally, actually, now that I'm saying that. But okay. Yeah, it was very interesting because I was like, yeah, that's... And Eli was telling me this, too, after he saw it. He was like, in the first one, buzzing that, like, Maverick buzzing
yeah.
the tower, which is great. He's like, Eli was like, if there's one thing that I can tell you that I would bet money on is universally true in the service is, they take the value of the equipment you're using, and that is the top priority sometimes, most of the time. So if you misuse it, that's like, they'll kick you out for that.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean, and they kind of they touch on that a couple times in the new one.
Yeah, a little bit.
I think they might say that they might say something about it in the first one. I'm gonna have to watch the first one again. But yeah, totally, because it's like these aren't your like toys. They're not your playthings. Right. Like you have a job that you do specifically, and your missions are outlined very specifically, and the parameters are very narrow. Mm-hmm. And if you just screw around and do stuff like that, I mean, obviously, yes, we understand it's a movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he would have been out like very quickly.
And they one thing they talk about too in one of the things I saw is they were talking about in Top Gun. I can't remember if they did this in Maverick actually. They talk about the hard deck, and like that's the no-fly zone.
Yeah, they do.
In real life, the hard deck is the ground. Like that's the term that's used for the ground. So you literally can't fly below the hard deck because you will die. Right. And so in the movies, though, like for their training, they're like the hard deck is 10,000 feet.
Yeah, they set like the
zone, blah blah blah.
The minimum.
It's just
minimum elevation, which I mean, it's like okay, it's like giving you another constraint for your training mission.
I think it makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if they do that for the actual Top Gun training or dogfighting training or what. But when you think it's like, it's a nice thing for the people making the movie. We're like, okay, well we could have this, and then it's just another rule he could break.
Right.
But it's not really that bad because it's just like, oh, he flew a little further under than he should have.
Well, I think so it's kind of this thing of like the spirit of the jargon is right. So one of my favorites, we've talked about this before briefly, my favorite video game series of all time, Metal Gear Solid.
Yes.
I read an article where the script writer was talking about the terms that they use in the game. And he's like, as I started talking to military personnel, they were like, what's the premise of the story you're working on? A one man infiltrating a base and he's unarmed? Now that's insane. That would never ever happen. And so he had to like make up terms, but in consultation, he made up terms that sounded legit, that fit in with the rest of the jargon. And I think that's really what Top Gun, when they take the liberties, it sounds cool. It sounds right.
I mean, if you're like your brother or Andy or other, people that are in the military, fighter pilots especially, if they pick I'm sure they can totally pick both of these movies and other movies apart. Yeah. But it's like that's kind of fun, like to do like after. But I mean, it's like just watch the movie first and enjoy it, and then you can get like they can nitpick through it and like you're like, yeah, this was wrong. Okay,
and the movie's not for them. It's for us schmoes who are not going to be in the cockpit of any fighter aircraft whatsoever.
Well, and I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure that a lot of them. I don't know about all. I probably can't say all of them, but I'm sure a lot of them can kind of like turn that off for a little bit and just kind of enjoy it. Let yourself be
immersed in a like alternate story or whatever. Yeah. Although I do my favorite. Did you post that little video, or maybe it was a meme, and it was like me after watching Top Gun once, starting my car, and you guys like hitting all the buttons.
But it's got the sound from the movie, like all the engines spooling up and stuff. It's like got his aviators on, and he pulls the seatbelt.
Yeah.
No, I saw that and it was perfect because I'm like,
it's exactly right though.
Yeah. You're just amped up. You're like, all right, we gotta turn this on. We gotta spin up the APU and the blah 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 and yada 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 on the flaps and and it's just like when I was a kid. I mean, there was quite a few years where I was like really into wanting to be a pilot, especially like military pilot.
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously I wasn't driving, but I would get in like my dad's car and I'd be like flipping all the like. Flipping the switches, like, okay, defroster, that's my, like, this is turning on the engine. Okay, radar's over here, and I'm going to slide the heater, slide the temperature gauge over here, and then I'm going to adjust the mirror, and then I'm going to do the, just all that crap. And I'm like, man, I've been doing that since I was a kid.
I had an old tape deck that I think was meant to be like a rack-mounted deal. But all of the play, stop, fast forward, rewind, they were all, instead of being like lights, they were heavy switches that stuck out like half an inch. Flip switches.
Toggle,
toggles, yeah. And then like it was it was like a knob for volume. I was just like, I would sit there and be like, all right, here we go.
Oh man, I wish.
And then my grandpa would come around and be like, who's been messing with this tape deck? All these switches aren't supposed to be like this.
Nobody.
I'm like, it's weird. I don't know.
I think my mom and well, I know they had one of those big total stereo systems. It had a record player on the top.
Oh yeah,
it had an equalizer. It had a tape deck. It had all kinds of sliders and switches and
yep,
super bass mode. Man, speaking of those switches, have you seen the inside of the newer Mini Coopers?
No,
a lot. They're I believe their center stack has little flip switches like that, those heavy toggle switches.
That'd be amazing.
And I think the newer Mustangs have that type of switches.
That alone would be a marketing thing. That tactile flipping of the switches.
You got the little wire guard around it too. So
yeah.
This is the master arm for the missiles. Psh,
yeah. Oh my goodness, I would retrofit my car. Actually, that would be such an awesome thing. But that's the thing, I don't know, all that stuff they're doing, it could be wrong. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's
it's a jet plane, so yeah, you gotta do the things and test your flaps. I don't know.
I thought it was kind of funny how because in the first one, the little radar, the very central to the plot, in the dogfights, the beep 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 beep, the tracking thing, and it's oh, you got a lock, missile, blew him up.
Yeah.
I don't think missile shots are that easy in real life. Also, it seemed like it was something made for, specifically for the audience. Yeah. And it looked more realistic if you watch videos of actual heads up displays on, in planes. But the new one, it looked a little bit better, but it still really kind of harkened back, which was kind of cool.
Did. Yeah. Because
it kind of followed that same thing, but again, it was an upgrade because it looked a little bit better.
Right.
So
we got to keep in mind in the lore, as you put it earlier, Top Gun happened in an adjacent timeline, clearly, right? We engaged with
the Russians,
a nondescript enemy. They don't ever actually have a name. We don't say where they're from or anything like that.
I guess
bogies
just assume
or whatever.
that it's Russia.
It does. It definitely does look like Russia.
Because the planes are black with the
red star.
I guess it could be China.
It could. Anyway, yeah, nondescript enemy fighter.
Because they were in India, not in
were
India,
they?
but they were I think they were in the Indian Ocean.
Could be
the final conflict, the final dogfight.
Yeah, and so that kind of continues on into the next movie where it's kind of.
I read where it's Iran.
Oh really?
That's where they where the mission was in Iran. Kind of makes sense because there's the climate, there's all kinds of different it's kind of deserty and then mountainy and then you get snowy and
yeah. So it's the plot of the first movie, real straightforward. Maverick and Goose make it into Top Gun, and they have their machismo moments competing with the other initiates, I guess, into the school. Everybody's vying for number one. There's no points for second place. And then, of course, Tom Cruise's character Maverick falls in love with the instructor, played by Kelly McGillis.
Yes.
And then, again, major spoilers here. Through the course of their training and some of the conflicts, Goose, his ejector seat malfunctions and slams him into the canopy. Mm-hmm. TBIs are pretty serious, and so he dies. And then Maverick's got to find a way to fly alone.
Yes.
Find the strength to fly again.
Of course, there's an investigation to decide if he was at fault for the whole incident that led up to them having to eject.
Which is glossed over almost. It's they acknowledge there was an investigation and they clear him, but it's they don't dig into the investigation at all. There's not like a detailed anything. It's just like the report shows Maverick was not at fault for Pete.
Yeah, I mean, there's a hearing. Like, I mean,
it's like a scene though. It's not. It's like a half a scene,
and it's almost like
quick.
a montage because there's like music playing, like that real like kind of like emotionally charged, kind of intense.
It's more about how he feels about it.
Yeah, because then Viper comes in when he's shaving, in his tighty whities.
Right.
Was it your
fault? I heard about the Top Gun school is like everybody lives nearby, so like nobody showers or does anything there. But the filmmakers were like, it makes sense for some of these conversations between everybody to happen like locker room style talk.
I guess, I mean, for the movie, it makes sense for them to all be staying in the same place.
Yeah.
Because it was like, well, I gotta go over to Iceman's house.
Right.
And
to have this conversation.
Like, have him chomp at me. Yeah, no, I get that too.
Yeah, which is fine. Like, again, it's kind of that rule of cool a little bit, and they make those changes to move the story forward in an efficient way, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I was telling you about a book that I'd read that was written by one of the pilots during the filming of the first Top Gun.
Yeah,
it's called Top Gun Days by Dave Baranek. I want to say is his name. Really cool book, really cool book. So I got it on Kindle a few years ago. But yeah, there's so many cool like stories in there. I need to read it again to kind of freshen up on it. But with like the famous story about the director turning the aircraft carrier around like because the lighting was wrong.
Oh yeah.
But he asked the captain of the ship of the carrier. He's like, yeah, so the lighting is not right. I'd like to turn the ship around, to get, to shoot it again. And he's like, well, you can't do that. You can't just turn this Navy ship around. He's like,
right?
That would cost like $25,000. So he the director whips out his checkbook and just like spends $25,000 of his own money to
like turn it around
to get the U.S. Navy to turn the aircraft carrier around so they could.
Technically, shouldn't it be 50? Because you got to turn around and then turn around again so they can. I don't know.
Like you've just altered the course of this of history because we turned around and went this way. We could turn back around and go the other way, but we'll just keep going.
Yeah. But yeah, all this like it builds up and yeah. So it was like a nice compact story. Of course, Maverick gets. I don't want to say gets over it, but he finds a way to fly and continued his piloting career.
I mean, Goose talks to him. Because he's like, talk to me, Goose.
Talk to me, Goose.
And we assume that Goose must talk to him because
I guess you never hear it. It's like
it's not like some like Obi-Wan. Maverick, use the Force.
I cannot help you this time. What?
What the hell is that?
Right. Wrong movie universe. Although that would be hilarious, and then have like a scene where Goose is talking to Luke,
and he's all like ethereal, like kind of, just. Oh God,
that would be something.
Yeah, thanks for killing me, dick. Jerk.
Yeah. So
I'm glad they didn't do that.
In the first one, it's. You knew they were gonna have to talk about it because they have Goose's son, call sign Rooster, which I think is a cooler call sign than Goose.
Yeah, but I like Goose though.
Sure, yeah.
We were saying how it's like a goofy call sign and like why the heck would anybody want to be called Goose? But I'm like,
his character was goofy though too.
Yeah,
like compared to everybody else, he just.
God bless Anthony Edwards.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they made that a pretty central part of the second one, which is fine, which makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool how, how he was involved in his life in, God, what the heck's his name? Rooster. I know, I can't remember the actor's name right now. What is Miles Teller?
Miles Teller
is the actor. What the heck was his actual name? Like in the movie. What the hell was Goose's name?
I don't know. It was Goose. Did he have another name? He introduced himself as Goose.
Hi. Anyway, so Maverick was involved like in his life, like as he was growing up. Now, without a father. So he knew him. He knew his mom, which apparently. So in the going back to the first one was like Meg Ryan's first movie role. I've heard.
Really?
That was her first movie.
Okay.
Maybe we should confirm that later. I don't know, but very small part. But I mean, she was in it. So it was cool that he was like involved in his life, but now, Rooster kind of hates him.
Yeah,
for reasons.
There's like a tense, and the movie does kind of a good job because it kind of makes you think that it's because Goose's dad died, or Rooster's dad died, and like that's kind of what you think, and then you find out later on it's because Maverick. They refer to as pulling his papers. It's like he's blocking him.
Yeah, he basically blocks him from the Naval Academy.
Yeah,
so he's like, "You wasted 4 years of my life. I hate you."
Right. Kind of like, yeah.
So I mean, there's the kind of the like the stress, like the conflict with obviously with you're like, man, does Rooster like blame Maverick for killing his dad?
Yeah.
But then, like you said, we find out there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
And so like I liked that, like how Maverick had been involved with his life, and then also how like as we're watching the second one, sorry, you see that sounds like Maverick and Iceman were just like awesome buddies. Like they were very good friends like throughout their careers, like after the events of Top Gun.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of the difference between when you're in school, Top Gun school, and you're competing to be the best and you want to know, and that's like kind of what it's about. And then after they're in the actual conflict, some of that stuff really melts away, and it's not really about am I better than you? It's can I trust you to like support me as we're doing this thing. And so it kind of, I liked that it was like an off-screen level of growth and like maturity. It's really not like just an egotistical machismo pissing contest anymore. It's these guys who are colleagues and they continue to push each other to be better. But
yeah, and I think, I suppose that there, again, we're not, naval aviators, but
no.
That's probably at least partially true, in that, obviously they're competing, but then when it comes down to it, they're, they got to have each other's backs and they got to be professionals and do their jobs and all that.
Yeah.
And there was also, so obviously there's the famous scene, at the end of when they both get out of their planes on the carrier, and it's like, you can be my wingman anytime.
You can be mine.
You can be mine. Big hug.
Hug it out, and everybody's cheering, and Tim Robbins has a goofy look on his face.
I love Tim Robbins. I wish they would have brought him back for part of somehow.
That would have been hilarious. If he was like the Ed Harris character, or I don't know, just somebody real quick, like to show that he also kind of moved up in like a different trajectory.
Should like mention him on Instagram or something and be like, what the hell, Tim?
Right?
Why are you not in this movie?
Was Tim, and I've not seen anything like everybody else is like, where were you asked to come back? Were you asked to come back? Were you asked to come back? And it's like, where's Tim Robbins? Why wasn't he asked to come back?
Why wasn't Clarence Gilliard? He, I believe, was Sundown.
Okay, yeah.
Who was Maverick's backseater after Goose died.
Yeah. And
he was like, I want to say he's most famous for like Walker, Texas Ranger. Like he's
yeah.
Like where the hell was he? Like where was Slider? Where was Hollywood? Where were all these people?
It kind of makes sense. Of the cast, obviously the person you want back the most is Val Kilmer.
Yeah, Iceman was the biggest like rival.
Yeah.
But one thing I was gonna say, like there was that hug scene at the end, but then also at the graduation ceremony, which where Iceman won and Maverick came in second. Maverick was still all messed up about Goose, and so that affected his performance, and he didn't win.
Right.
But he came up and congratulated Kazansky, Iceman. Yeah. Like he's like, congratulations. And then right after that, Jester, Michael Ironside.
Jester
was like, gentlemen, Here are your orders.
Yeah.
We must away and kill people.
He has, in that movie, Michael Ironside has no sense of humor. And it's not like... So in some other roles that he's been in, like in Starship Troopers, like he's very serious, but it's kind of in a goofy, sort of fun way, you know? And in Top Gun, he is all business all the time.
Yeah.
Like... It's
he was like
to me,
Viper's like advisor, like he was like the number 2
Yeah.
guy, and he's like, the kid's a wild card.
Yeah.
And Viper's like, we gotta get him up there.
Get him flying again. Keep sending him up.
Send him up. Just so cool.
It really was like that. Just that first movie's cast, because they weren't all. Very few of them were like big names yet, right? Like Tom Cruise had done a few things. He was reasonably well known.
Well, had he done like what was it?
Color of Money, Born on the 4th of July.
Like Labyrinth?
No, he wasn't in Labyrinth.
What was that fantasy one that he was in?
Fantasy?
Yeah.
Tom Cruise?
Yeah. Come on, man. What is it? You gotta help me out here, man. Come on. I'm looking, searching.
I'm really drawing a blank. I know he was in a movie. I think it was after Top Gun where he had like a horrendous Irish accent.
Far and Away.
Far and Away. Yeah.
No, but yeah, and I liked that movie, and it was him and Nicole Kidman, but apparently it wasn't. Yeah. Legend is what it was called. Fantasy movie. Legend.
Okay. I mean, he'd done Risky Business.
Yeah. So before Top Gun, Endless Love, Taps, The Outsiders.
Oh yeah, The Outsiders, of course.
Losing It.
How did I?
All the Right Moves, where he was a high school football player. That had Leah Thompson in it, also.
Oh, so it looks like Color of Money was the same year as Top Gun.
So Legend was 85, right before.
Okay.
And then Top Gun, Color of Money.
And then he really just went on to make...
He took off. Cocktail,
Rain Man. I've not seen Born on the 4th of July. I hear good things.
Born on the 4th of July.
Days of Thunder was huge. A Few Good Men was wildly awesome. So was The Firm.
Interview with the Vampire. And then, of course, Mission Impossible, Jerry Maguire.
Oh, man.
Born on the 4th of July, according to Wikipedia, is 1989. So between Rain Man and Days of Thunder.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I guess...
And he continues on, like... You know.
And of course, the rest is history.
But it's early on in his career.
Yeah, it's very early. It's
5 movies
2, 3,
in.
4.
So, still like relatively unknown, and so was like a lot of other people in the movie though.
Yeah, I mean it was.
I guess Michael Ironside might have been.
Tom Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt was well known for sure. Had Val Kilmer done?
What's the guy's name? The dude that chews him out at the beginning. The guy that was in Back to the Future.
Oh yeah, Back to the Future guy. I don't know his name.
Be flying cargo planes full of rubber. Beep,
out of Hong Kong.
Hong Kong.
Yes.
What's the name of
Top
that
Gun was Val Kilmer's third movie. He'd done a movie called Top Secret, Real Genius, boom, Top Gun, Willow.
Willow!
And he went right into The Doors. Oh my goodness.
So that like shot him
to
fame.
Unbelievable. So he did Heat, the same Heat and Batman Forever were done in the same year. Oh 95? My goodness. So 95? Wings of Courage. Yeah. 95. Unbelievable.
95 is a great year.
Apparently. Oh man. Anyway, so yeah, the relatively unknown, and it just launched all of them into just instant awesomeness, I think. And so with all of that, like with the weight of how awesome and how beloved Top Gun is, at least to us. I was definitely nervous going into Top Gun Maverick.
Me too, because I was like we said earlier, I mean, we'd seen the trailers. It had been, delayed. The trailers look cool.
Yeah.
But even then, like, you're still kind of nervous. Like, I'm not sure what to expect from this. Is it all just going to be like the stuff from the trailers and the rest is going to be terrible?
Right.
But it was good throughout.
I think it was great. I'm going to say it was great, man. I loved it.
Okay. I touched on this a little bit, I think, like, when we were talking right after the movie was over. Like, basically up until, like, the end basically like the end chunk. Like I was like, this is pretty good. I like this. And then this end part happened. Even as I was leading up to it, I knew what was going to happen. That's when the movie went from like a 7 or 8 to an 11.
Yeah.
For me, just like, poof.
Yeah.
Do we spoil it now?
Let's do it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, earlier in the movie, when they're talking about the mission, and they have the intel, and they're like, the enemy has 5th generation fighters, which are, the new fanciest fighters. But they also have older, they also have older aircraft they bought from the United States.
Basically, they have
F-14s.
random older planes.
Yes, they have old planes like F-14s. And they just mentioned that in their one of their first briefings for the mission.
It's in a list too. They're listing off 4 or 5 random things that they have.
And on that
and it's
fancy video screen where they're showing all the how the mission's gonna go, and they're like, okay, look here, there's F-14s here. And so you're kind of like, oh cool, F-14s as they flew in the first one.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when after all, the mission happens and spoilers, Maverick gets shot down.
Yeah.
And then
Rooster, when that happened, I really thought they were going to kill him.
Me too.
I was like,
I thought he was dead.
That would be maybe a good bookend and
yeah, that would just be just a slamming shut the book chapters of Maverick and just beginning, Rooster and this new generation of,
because they really talk
pilots.
About how in this mission you have to expect people to not come back.
Yeah, they really did that a lot.
And it wasn't to me it seemed realistic as opposed to intensely foreshadowing or anything like that. It was just you got to have realistic expectations. And Maverick says, I don't do with that. I have to plan for everybody to come back. And they're like, that's not going to happen. And it was a personality thing. Yeah. And so I really thought, when his plane went down, I was like, that's it.
Me too. I was like,
he's
oh
the
my
guy
God,
who's not coming back.
No.
He's the guy. He made sure it was him instead of everybody else. He was a true Maverick. I did. I was welling up just a little bit, and I was like, "Here lies Maverick."
I'm like, no, I can't believe it. I feel terrible.
Right.
And then but then you're like, and then all the other pilots that are on the mission, they're like, we can't go back for him. We got to go. John Hamm told us to go back to the carrier.
Right. Vice was his name in that movie.
Was that his call sign?
That was his call sign. Vice.
Man. And then so it cuts to Maverick survived the ejection. He's on the ground, rolling up his parachute, and he then an attack chopper from the enemy comes and sees him. He's on the ground and just starts blasting away at him with a with a Gatling gun on it.
Right. Oh.
And then suddenly the chopper just blows up. Right when you think Maverick's gonna die, it's got him in his sights and they're about ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And Rooster. But then he gets shot down.
And then so Maverick run, in his little short man Tom Cruise sprint. Right. It's a Tom Cruise movie, so he does run in it.
Yes, very briefly, but he does run.
Yeah.
Well, he runs on the beach earlier.
Yeah, he does a little bit.
Yeah, because he scores a touchdown.
Right.
In the dogfight football.
Right.
That really confused me at first when they had both sides snapping the ball.
Yeah, it was instead of volleyball.
They had to have a gratuitous shirts off, muscle flexing.
But it was kind of nice because, Maverick talks about, this is team building. It's getting them to work together. And,
right.
It's playing offense and defense at the same time. And
and I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
They quit caring about the points and they just were playing for fun.
They're like, yay, we love each other, we're great. And John Hamm's like, what the hell is this? Tim's like, well, you told me to build a team, so I did. Okay, So Rooster and Maverick. So Maverick goes and runs to Rooster, and then he's pissed off at him because he's like, "You shouldn't have come back for me." And,
right.
I told you. You told me not to think up there. You said if you think you're dead. Right. Which they had that line in the first one, right?
Yeah.
Did they say that in the first one?
Yeah.
There's something. You
think you're dead.
So the thing that I'm talking about and what made this movie go from a 7 or 8 to an 11. So they're like, how the hell are we gonna get back to the carrier? And so they're real close to the air base that they had attacked with the cruise missiles, from the the attack group out in the ocean. So the airfield is destroyed, but they're so they come over the hill and they look with their binoculars. What do they see? But an F-14 Tomcat.
Absolutely.
In a hangar, completely unscathed. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, as they were, like, leading up to it, I'm like, yes, yes. Oh, my God, yes, yes, yes. And then they, like, look, and you see it, and I'm just like, ah. It was just awesome. And then, you know. So, yeah.
They had to sneak down and get it in and fire it up, and, oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're just, like, totally just, you know, obviously it takes more than 2 people to get one of these planes up in the air normally, but this bombed out airfield, and they're just running around. Of course, they just managed to sneak onto the airfield with nobody seeing them. They fire up the engine, you know, like Maverick gets in the cockpit and like flips all the right switches, and he tells Rooster how to you know,
he's
how
like,
to start the engines. And
I forget what he tells him, and then it pans and you see behind Rooster, and it's like a panel of fuses. I mean, hundreds.
When he's in the plane,
hundreds, and he's like, which one is it? He's like, figure it out. I didn't fly back there. I was always up here.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like the F-14s, I mean, they were sweet, like they're awesome, but I mean, they're also old. Like,
yeah,
they had like old tech. So I mean, like having all those like physical like breakers and switches and stuff compared to like what you have now, like the glass cockpit, which is all like fancy electronics and stuff. But yeah, I mean, that was so cool. And then of course Maverick figures out how to get it to take off from a taxiway. Not a runway, but a taxiway, because they don't. That's the only place that isn't like cratered. So one thing I noticed in the like, so they take off. Everything's cool. They're in a dogfight with, you know, enemy fighters. There's a funny scene where the 5th generation, the fancy fighters, you know, from the enemy, like see them flying, and they're like, do they know who we are? We don't know who they are. What are they like? Just be cool. Don't do anything. We don't have any radios. Like, so they're like tapping his helmet. Like, I don't have any comms or anything. And then they're like, they're getting suspicious. Oh my God.
See, the enemy gives them some like hand signals.
And he's like,
what does that mean? He was like, I don't know.
I have no idea.
He's like, I don't know.
So then, you know, one of them, there's 2 of them, and like one of them slides in behind in a firing position, and then conflict. And but at one point, Maverick, like the plane has been hit, like their plane has been hit by like machine gun fire. Mm-hmm. So Maverick's like, punch out. He's like, eject. And he pulls the handles and nothing happens. And I was like, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I bet it's because they forgot to pull the pins out of the ejection seat.
Oh.
Because you have to because you're sitting on top of a rocket, right? So you have to pull the safety pins out like before you actually fly. Because if you leave them in, they're there because you can't just pull it and like eject while you're on the ground or whatever.
Right.
So I'm like, I bet they forgot to pull the pins.
Wow. No, I didn't think about that at all. I just figured it was old. And
I mean, it could probably work both ways.
Yeah,
I mean, it
absolutely.
could either be that
I like your explanation better.
Like maybe they simply forgot to pull the pins, or it could be it's an old piece of shit.
Like that could have been just been like the flight crew's job. You know, as they're prepping your plane.
Yeah, prepping the plane, you pull that stuff out because Maverick told him specifically, he's like, pull all the, like after the engines start, you need to pull all these like hoses off and close the panels.
Yeah,
he pulled the little pins with the little like flag things, like he pulled them off the missiles and stuff, like off the tips of the missiles, and so it's like, you know, that's flight crew stuff too. So I mean, that would fit with the ejection seat.
I'm kind of curious how much some of that carries over, because Rooster, Miles Teller's character, obviously would have no point of reference for like the F-18, right? It would just.
You mean F-14?
F-14, sorry. He's only flown modern.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess. I mean,
so
you would think. I don't.
So I wonder how much carries over for like it's still certain things have to be still the same now. I guess.
Well, but also he's in like a totally different role when he's flying with Maverick in the back, because he's a pilot.
Yeah.
He's not the weapons system officer, so he would have no idea. I mean, I don't know how much cross training there is between those two.
Probably not much idea.
But like,
I don't know. He
was never trained at all on the Tomcat to fly it, because he was like, you know, probably was all trained on the Hornets, on the F-18s, and then he's in the back seat instead of the front. So
yeah,
but he manages to get like at one point he manages to find the right breaker and get like the radar scope to come up and like the radios and stuff.
Yeah. So. Oh man,
so cool.
It was just a great ride the whole way through. They had it that's how you do a sequel. Like, if you have another story to tell about some characters from long ago and you want to get the crew back together and do it, like, that's cool. But, like, do it carefully. Tell a good story. Tell or you know, like in the case of the original, tell an okay story, but like do it really well.
Yeah. Make it like, you know, you get like, you know, sexy actors with good charisma. You get not like blow your mind dialogue, but you get that quippy, you know, kind of back and forth stuff, and you know, it's
that was good. They had some nice flashbacks to the original movie. Yeah. So I think somebody could.
There was more emotion in this one than there was in the first one.
Far more, yeah.
Like the first one, you're like, this is awesome because it's, you know, because it's 80s and because it's airplanes and stuff. But like,
right.
You know, the performances. I mean, you know, they're not going to win any Oscars.
No, and they didn't.
I mean, and I don't think the second one's going to win any Oscars for performances either. But
no,
I feel like there was a little more depth to performance. In the second
lot
one.
more, I think.
Yeah.
And they do in the second one, they talk about he's got like an old flame, which is played by Jennifer Connelly. Penny Benjamin.
Yeah.
And they so as I went through and I watched the first one.
Did you watch that again this week? Like you were watching it this week? Right?
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet actually. It's kind of been my in between stuff. There's a reference to the like citations that Maverick has gotten. And so he's like so they're talking about like how he's done like this many flybys and this many this and this many this. And he's like, Anna Pass had a general's daughter or something like that.
Anna Pass of an admiral's daughter.
Admiral's daughter, yeah. And then Goose leans over. He's like, Penny Benjamin.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it is in his. I didn't remember that at all.
You didn't remember that when you saw the second one?
I really didn't. I was like, who is this chick? And I was like, you know what? It kind of doesn't matter. Like it's been 30 years.
Yeah.
He's had a life. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to know every detail of the background. But like watching the first one, I was like,
that's oh my god, that's the Penny Benjamin.
That's her. That's her.
Yeah. So
that's so good.
That just kind of adds to it. I mean, and it was a real like, you know, kind of looking back, it's like I doubt they were planning that. They were planning for the sequel, but like it worked out because, obviously Kelly McGillis didn't come back for this one,
right? And
I guess, you know, somebody had asked her recently, like, why didn't they ask you back? And she's like, well, probably because, you know, I look my age and I'm, you know, like. Yeah, I think she said like because I'm fat and I look my age or something like that. Yeah. Which is cool, and it's like it's refreshing to hear that from somebody because, you know, I think after like Top Gun and like she was in some movie where she was like an Amish girl who like witnessed a murder or something. Maybe it's called Witness.
Well, she kind of retired from
acting, but like
right?
she doesn't like give a crap. Like she like retired. Like she's not trying to be like, you know, continue as like a, you know, 60, however old she is, 65. She's not trying to be like a supermodel looking, you know, like I'm not trying to be sexy for Hollywood, you know. So
yeah, she's
cool. She's just like, yeah, they didn't ask me back because I'm not hot. Basically,
she hasn't kept up that part of her life. She's done a few movies here and there, but you know, she's kind of, it looks like she's kind of chilled out on movies.
And I mean, that's obviously, you know, Hollywood. I mean, there's intense pressure for everybody to stay attractive, but especially you know, women. You know, because
so she's done regular stuff ever since, all through the 90s, 2000s. So she most recent movie was in 2018 though, so it's been a couple of years, not too.
But she's still doing stuff every once in a while.
No movies I've ever heard of, which also is fine. Like,
right,
but
so she is acting.
So she is doing some stuff. Yeah,
cool. Yeah, I mean that's cool. It's like she didn't feel like she had to, you know, keep up with that.
The
Rat Race
with Jodie Foster. Oh man, that's a dark movie.
She was in that.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen that. Yeah. So Charlie is not coming, you know, her character Charlie is not coming back for the sequel.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, who do we have for the love interest? Like, oh my God, Penny Benjamin.
Yeah.
And they're like, who can we get to play Penny? Jennifer Connelly, who is very attractive woman. She's still like, you know, again, with like Hollywood, like kind of that stereotypical, like the leading man, they always got to have some young, hot, you know, love interest. And
right.
I mean, Jennifer Connelly is not super young anymore, but I mean, she's still, I read she's like 8 years younger than Tom Cruise, so she's still not his age, but
Right.
Whatever. And like I was reading something where like, well, if you think about that too much, like if you take that back to the first one, like she would have been underage. Like when, so you're like,
There's a lot of problematic things like that in the original Top Gun. It's like,
who says that her character is actually
her character wouldn't
the
be
age
like,
gap is that big in like in the story, but whatever. So I mean, they're banking that you don't like think too much about it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think...
Because, I mean, obviously...
She was clearly meant, in my opinion, she was clearly meant to be the same age as Tom in the movie.
Yeah. I mean, she was a peer of his back in the day.
Absolutely.
So,
And it shows just the level of effort that was put into this movie, though. It comes out everywhere. Like, we all know Tom's a adrenaline junkie, and he's going to do stuff.
Too.
He's a perfectionist, and he's Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
But I was reading something that was talking about how someone was like, Tom Cruise is like the last of the movie stars. There's nobody else that just on his name alone will draw a crowd. And it's almost shifted in a lot of ways to, we don't have movie stars, we have directors now. Like Christopher Nolan, when he makes a movie, it draws a crowd, period. And it kind of doesn't matter what movie it is. All of them are, kind of cool and interesting movies, even if you don't like, maybe you don't like Batman. You watch the Batman, the Nolan trilogy, and you're like, those are kind of cool movies, though. Even if you don't like Batman, even if
you're not a superhero
it's fine.
fan or whatever.
Yeah. Same with, like, The Machinist. That was Nolan, right? Also Christian Bale?
Yeah.
Or am I remembering that wrong?
Or was that something different? That might have just been a Bale.
It could have just been a Bale movie. I thought it was Nolan. I could be wrong, actually. It's got a Nolan feel to it. Or like Inception. Very Nolan movie, very practical effects.
Oh, Brad Anderson directed.
I was way off base. Whatever. Anyway, Nolan, you see his name attached to something, you're interested
Memento.
in it automatically.
Have you seen Memento?
It's on my list. I'm really sorry.
You need to watch that.
I'll just, yeah.
Well, so I haven't seen The Prestige, I think. Is that?
I have. That's pretty good too.
Because that's Nolan, right? And that's Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman, right?
Yes.
Because there was what was the other magic?
No, because there was two. I was gonna say there's two magic
the other
movies
magic
that were
movie that came out
really within like a year of each other. Both of them were good. I just can't remember what they were called. But like Tom Cruise, you know what you're gonna get. You know he's gonna do some crazy cool stuff, and you know that when you watch it, he's doing the thing. Like
he's
scaling
tries
the
to do as
building.
many of his own stunts as
he's
he
jumping
can.
down the thing. He's holding his breath for like 10 minutes or whatever. I don't know. And it's just like,
are you talking about
it's in one of the Mission Impossible movies, right? He holds his breath for like 2.5 minutes or something.
Well, okay, because he was infiltrating. They were infiltrating that, whatever.
Yeah,
ready to swim through something. I was thinking of Minority Report.
Oh yeah,
where he's in the tub.
Oh yeah,
and he has to let one little bubble out.
That's all practical too.
Yeah,
it's insane. They were gonna CGI it, and he was like, "No, I got this."
He's like, "Nope, I can do it."
Yeah,
he's
just like, "What?
I got it. All right, let's go."
What? Yeah, but like nobody else draws people because of their name. It's like their name and the director and like what else is going on. And there's no movie star power to a lot of other names.
Okay, what would you say? Okay, obviously now things have changed. I think in the last couple months, Will Smith, not even before the slap.
Not even before the slap. So? No, there's plenty. I mean, like the King Richard movie. It's not in like. My wife wants to watch it because she's a big tennis fan. Mm-hmm. I like to watch tennis, but I don't keep up with it. So like, I'll watch it because she wants to. I'm not watching it because it's a Will Smith movie.
Yeah,
I haven't seen.
You're
like
right. I would say Will Smith
7 pounds
had that power in the 90s, like the mid to late 90s.
Maybe. I think he was
Independence Day, Bad Boys.
He was on an upward trajectory towards that power, and I think I'm not sure what happened, but there was some slip ups there.
Well, he kind of just like didn't make. I mean, because he's made lots of great movies,
Absolutely.
but it's like he made. I think lately there was like a point where he was making big budget movies, but they just weren't great.
Yeah.
Like,
But
there's
like-
some like racing movie where he was with
Racing movie?
like Scarlett Johansson or something.
Yeah. No, he was. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Or
It's
he
not
was like a
racing
rich
movie.
guy, like some
It's like a
rich
gambling semi-heist movie or something.
dude. Oh,
I thought it was. I thought it was Margot Robbie, not Scarlett Johansson.
now I'm totally confused. It probably is Margot.
Anyway, but like Will Smith, much as he was beloved up until recently.
Slap heard around the world. Focus. Okay, the movie's called Focus.
Yep.
And it is Margot Robbie. Yeah, Robbie.
Yeah, she can come on and tell us how to say her name. That's fine.
I'd be cool with that.
Yeah.
I'd be kind of nervous actually. I'd be like, oh my
Probably.
God.
But like, it just
Yeah. Okay. So he's a con artist. Okay. Yeah.
because there's like personal actors where you're like, I love them. I'll see them in anything. Keanu Reeves is close, I think, for me.
Like he's not like he doesn't have just the. Everybody loves Keanu, obviously, but
yeah.
he doesn't have the Tom Cruise level of just swag and just power.
Yeah.
Just straight up. I mean, it's power, man. He's just got it all.
Yeah.
And then I guess the Scientology thing is for another podcast.
Even looking at some of his movies that didn't do super well, like Vanilla Sky or Eyes Wide Shut. Actually, I don't know if Eyes Wide Shut did really well or not.
I don't remember.
It was-
I just remember it was like I haven't seen it. I mean,
was
it
good.
came out when I was a kid, so I was like, oh.
And I think that was more popular because it was one of Kubrick's last movies.
Yeah, it was a Kubrick film. Yeah.
So that was kind of, partnered on that, so to speak. But like,
And they're like, it's an erotic thriller.
it was something. I watched it.
Was it an erotic thriller?
I don't really recommend it. Honestly, it was. It had a huge ick factor for me, even
Really?
as like like in your younger years when you were like watching movies because you knew there was going to be stuff in there. Even in that period of my life, it was still like there was a huge ick factor in this movie.
Well,
And
I don't even know what it's
wasn't
like
into it.
about. I've never seen it. All I know, like you said, it's Kubrick. It's Cruise and Kidman, and they're a married couple
Yeah.
who start getting into like sexy parties.
Tom's character tries to infiltrate some sort of weird erotic party, and it goes sideways, and I don't know. It's weird. I don't know if I was definitely too young to be watching it.
Well, sure,
But, like-
so many movies where I was too young.
No kidding.
Anyway,
But yeah, no,
Sorry, Dad.
Tom has that star power.
yeah,
Like, because he's Tom Cruise, what to expect. And that at minimum, it's not going to be a crappy movie.
right,
Like, you
right.
kind of...
There's very rarely, if any, missteps career-wise for Tom.
Yeah.
Like, they may not be, like you said, they may not be like awesome, but they're not going to be bad.
His career missteps are like PR ones as opposed to movie ones.
Yeah, like the Katie Holmes, the couch thing with Oprah.
Yeah.
Scientology
Scientology in
the
general.
whole the whole thing with Scientology. They're like, is he gay or not? I don't know. Like, that whole thing. I mean, but who cares really?
I never really understood that. Like,
But
debate.
there's always like apparently it's like it's been a rumor that he's gay.
Sure.
I mean, but hasn't stopped him.
He continues to move forward and do things, and I think it's he continues to adapt and grow with the purpose of improving his craft. Other professionals, like, they're fun to watch. Maybe you like movies with The Rock in them. I don't know, but like Rock. That he's the same basically in every movie. Like, he's like shades of the same thing in every movie, and that hasn't changed in the last 15 years he's been making movies.
You mean Tom Cruise or The Rock?
The Rock. Tom has improved. In this movie, I felt like we saw emotional depth in his performance.
Well, it's like, and we knew from very early on, that Tom Cruise is he is a serious actor, and he's, obviously more than capable of a huge range of performances, and like emotions and whatever. And I mean, The Rock. I mean, don't get me wrong, The Rock is an awesome dude, and love The Rock.
He's fun.
He's fun. And he's a super nice guy apparently, but it's like like you said, he is The Rock.
Yeah.
In every freaking movie that he's in.
Like he goes by Dwayne, and it's interesting.
I'm Dwayne The Rock
because his range, he can do some stuff. Like he talks. There's some snippet where he plays himself in a movie, and he's giving lessons to theater kids, and he starts treating them like he would treat his opponents in wrestling.
What?
And then he stops and he goes, "You see that?" And is like, he has like a total tonal and attitude shift. And he's like, "See, that was The Rock. That was a performance. And now I'm back to being just Dwayne Johnson, and I'm talking to you. See, that's the kind of level of commitment." And I was just like, "Huh, okay. So he has two levels. It's The Rock or it's Dwayne Johnson." And it's like anywhere in between there he can have covered. But if you need like emotional range, maybe have somebody else do that part.
So somebody, I don't know, it was probably a Reddit comment. I'm pretty sure it was, because of course I'm Reddit a lot. Someone was saying how like The Rock, he would be better as like as not the main attraction, the main character, but more as a side character. And they mentioned like he was in the movie Pain and Gain, where like because Mark Wahlberg were like weightlifter, gym junkie guys, and The Rock was like just kind of his like sidekick, like best friend or something. I saw the movie, but I'm like, it wasn't that great. I think that was Michael Bay, actually, that made that one.
It sounds right.
But it was kind of it was a trip watching that movie. It was kind of fun. I kind of want to see it again. So, okay, what I was going to say, we were talking about Eyes Wide Shut. I'm like, should I put that on my list of, like, bad movies that I want to watch?
Oh, man.
My fairly newly created IMDb list of bad movies that I want to watch.
Really wretched movies? I don't know.
Well, what's on there now? Jason X, which I think is when Jason goes to space. And I think it's called Aloha, the one where Emma Stone is supposedly a half Native Hawaiian, half Caucasian person. Yeah. And you just have to go with it. You're like, sure, yeah, okay.
She kind of got some flack for that movie. If I
recall. Because they're like, well, it's like, why the hell didn't they actually cast a Native Hawaiian in this? Like, well, we got to do Emma Stone.
I mean,
like, so I guess if you can like take, I still haven't seen it because it's on my list. If you like just kind of remove that and just kind of watch it for what it is. But then at the same time, like the whole movie, they're trying to convince you that she is half Native Hawaiian. So it's just like,
that's one of those weird things of I don't know where I land on that, because you look at we weren't demanding that Leonardo DiCaprio be replaced by an actual South African for the Blood Diamonds movie, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I just want to watch it like on its own like merits and just not be concerned with the criticism that it got. I just kind of want to see it, and that's kind of what made me like interested to see it.
Yeah.
Well, I take that back. Not like that controversy specifically, but like just I remember when the movie came out, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of like I think Bradley Cooper's like he's some type of like military pilot guy, and it's in Hawaii, and so I'm like, oh, cool,
sure,
yeah, sure. And then like I read a little bit more about it, and that's when the casting stuff.
I think there's degrees of things of certain things are important to the plots. The Iron Fist show that was on Netflix, so that's kind of a terrible show that you should watch.
Okay, all right.
And it's terrible because of the way that they handle Iron Fist. Anyway, people were really upset, and they were like, well, they should replace him with an Asian actor because he gets this Asian power, and that's where he gets the power of the immortal Iron Fist, right? Mm-hmm. But he's like a paisley white dude.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, no, if you, again, my nerd is going to show like real hard. If you read the comics, he's like the son of a wealthy businessman, and in order for that to work and fly with the way that it's staged, he has to be white.
Okay.
Like, we're reaching the point where that's no longer the requirement, But for that, he kind of had to be white. Superman, you could cast as any race, I think, at this point in time. I feel pretty comfortable saying if you landed in Kansas, presuming you're still going with that for Superman, and he was
right, that would be an
any
interesting
person
take.
of color, he could. I think that would be okay. It would be doable.
So Lois and Clark, Dean Cain. He is not.
He's not like cracker white.
Like,
can we say that?
I don't know.
Well, you're white.
I mean, I'm white.
I'm pretty white.
I just want to. I was like, I think that he is like. So he was born Dean George Tanaka. So he is partly Japanese. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
So I was like, so I mean, he's not like the the stereotypical like
right,
super white Republican Christian Kansas kid,
right.
I mean, maybe he could have been.
I mean, and when Superman was first introduced,
that was in like the in
the 50s or whatever,
50s?
He would have needed to have been, and that's fine. That was the era we lived in. And now they just like it's never addressed either that I'm aware of, because I watched some of that show. It's just he's just this guy.
Clark?
Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
and I mean that's
why
cool.
does he look Asian?
Yeah, that show was in the 90s. So,
yeah,
I mean,
he's
like,
just
that was cool.
So I think there's some roles where it's like, yeah, the race can matter, but I think a lot of times it doesn't. I think
I mean, I don't know.
So I don't know. I haven't seen that movie, so you have to let me know what you think. But like,
I guess I could say, I guess it probably, like, I don't know that would probably wouldn't bother me as a white guy, but maybe Native Hawaiians who watch that, they, rightfully so, it bothered them. So I mean, I don't know.
Well, they want us to stay out of the state, so like that wouldn't surprise me if it bothered them. There's a lot of signs when I was in Maui that said "Stop moving to Maui, stop coming here."
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, I wish I got more pictures of it, but it cracked me up. I guess so. Star power. I think Meryl Streep can do a lot on her name alone.
She's really old now, though.
She
is. Do you think she could still?
I think she still does.
What about Helen Mirren?
No.
Because they're like kind of the same era.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I think she's a fantastic performer. But when you say
older, I think she might be older than Meryl Streep.
But when it's the difference between I'm going to see a new Tom Cruise movie, I'm going to see a new Meryl Streep movie, I'm going to go see a new Rock movie. No, then you'd say the name. Or Helen Mirren, you would say the name of the movie. I'm going to go see this movie with this person in it. It's kind of like it's almost like the authors. It's like, when the author's name gets bigger than the title of the book, that's like a sign that you've made it, kind of, or whatever. I've kind of heard that.
I think like a Stephen King.
Yeah, Tom Clancy and some of them guys. I think Tom Cruise is the same. I think you really could be like Tom Cruise, Maverick, underneath it, and we just acknowledge it.
I think The Rock has tried really hard to be like that.
Yeah,
but I just don't. Because you're like, oh, it's summer. There's another Rock movie coming out. It's like, I'm sure it'll be kind of fun. It's probably going to be kind of stupid, but
the explosions and stuff. I don't know.
But you're right. I'm like, I don't think he's not the same. He's not the same level.
No, Cruise. And I don't think.
And I mean,
no disrespect to The Rock, of course. I don't think he ever will be.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's not that The Rock doesn't work just as hard, or does
he works
obviously
hard.
He's a hard worker physically, obviously, and I mean, I think he's got to be a hard worker, working on films and stuff too. But it's just,
it's kind of crazy too, because you think about, like, you look at Tom Cruise. He's a small guy.
Yes.
He's not. I don't know. It's just
he's like 5. I don't know. Gotta look it up.
Yeah, he's
not 6 foot.
He's on the shorter side. He's not like comically small or anything. He's like a little on the shorter side. And like if you ran into a guy like that on the street, it'd just be this unassuming guy. Yeah. So like I said, not horribly short by any means.
I think he's actually too small to be a pilot.
Oh really?
Like if he would have tried to, if he would have like,
because he can't reach the pedals.
Like if he would have tried to like go and be a pilot in the Navy and fly Tomcats in the 80s, I don't
They may not
I
have
don't think
taken
he
him.
would have made the physical requirements.
That's interesting.
But I mean, movies.
Yeah.
So.
Absolute movie magic.
Nicole
Knew how to
Kidman
stuff.
was 3 inches taller than him.
Yeah. And it was so like when they would do red carpet stuff, she would wear heels, and it always made it look like she was massively taller than him, but it wasn't that much. But I mean, so yeah, he just, I don't know. There's something about him though, like what you're gonna get. It's gonna be solid. Mm-hmm. And
I mean, he's had his own like production company for a long time. Did the first Mission Impossible, was that like one of his company? Because I mean, he was a pretty big star at that point.
It was either Mission Impossible 2 or 3 that is when his production company like took over, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess like Jackie Chan.
He had a run where he had. Are you like comparing him to Tom? Like
yeah, a little bit.
Like
he's kind of a powerhouse. He kind of had like a peak in powerhouse time.
But like
The Foreigner was good.
Yeah, but it's like, was it marketed as like Jackie Chan is the Foreigner?
I can't remember, honestly.
I mean,
I saw
again,
The Foreigner because it was Jackie Chan, though.
We watched it together like last year, I think.
And I've seen it 3 or 4 times, I think.
But it's like, at that point, I think his like super mega star had kind of set.
Yeah.
And he's more like, because I mean, he's older.
Well, and he will say he didn't learn how to do some of the modern filmmaking stuff. Like he didn't learn it, and now he's at the point where it's not that he can't, but he was just like, I don't know if I need to or want to or whatever.
Because like maybe that's the difference. Like Cruise is just like relentless. Like he just has this drive, and he approaches everything. It seems like 110%, and he's like the consummate professional. Like when working on all this stuff, does his own stunts, got his own like he's just like driven. And Jackie Chan, like you said, he's just kind of like, whatever. I don't feel like doing it anymore.
Yeah, Jackie Chan's definitely his strength was the willingness to, which is the difference maybe between Chinese cinema and American, is he will do the shot 100 times until it's right. So he has like a different that similar level of like perfection and stuff. It's just different
probably
when
do
you
the
stunts.
same. Like
Maybe, yeah. As far as I know, Cruise is more interested in like doing it in one take, like a little bit, and like that's kind of his goal. And Jackie's is like, no, we'll just keep doing it over and over again until we get it right. And that's why all those like fantastical things that he flows together in the movies, like that's why he has all those outtakes. It's like these are snippets from the cutting room floor.
Yeah, I gotta say, you probably don't get too many like Cruise outtakes, like outtake reels.
No, it's
I feel like that would be like forbidden to like see Tom like breaking character or like
there. So
laughing.
in the early days of like DVD, I was really into special features for a while. Mm-hmm. And so when we rented Mission Impossible 2 on DVD way back in the day, like I stood up and watched like the extras and stuff. And they talked about him. There's a stunt that he does where he like skydives in through like the building's vent, like through the.
For 2?
Yeah, the typical Tom Cruise style that we all know and love now. And how he did it, and they were like, okay, that's good. And he goes, no, let's do it again. And so they do it again. He's like, okay, one more take. And they're like, okay, but this is it. And he's like, yeah, this is it. And they does it. He's like, one more take. One more take. Come on, one more take. Let's do it again. And it's like, because he wants to do it a little bit. And
like he's having a good time.
He's having a good time. So he's like, I want to do it again.
That's funny. I know that, I guess apparently like that the extras isn't as big of a deal anymore, like commentaries and stuff.
No, because they just...
I never got into them, though.
I don't know.
Like, I never got into that, like, golden age of commentaries, because it's like, I think it would be too distracting for me.
Yeah.
But I guess, like, you assume that you've seen the movie normally without it, and then so you can just watch it with the commentary.
Right. Like in The Matrix, there's one where Carrie-Anne Moss talks about when she's, like, diving through the window, she's like, as I was diving, my feet kept drifting apart, and they really wanted me to like be real sleek and bullet-like, and so they literally just taped my feet together.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, I bet they tied her feet together.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of like little things like that are kind of fun.
Yeah.
and or like behind the scenes of how, like in the Lord of the Rings extended edition, there's like several audio commentaries you can listen to, and the one with the four hobbits and Liv Tyler and one other person, like the four hobbits part of the commentary is great. And they're talking about like what they would do to keep each other awake and all this stuff. And then Liv Tyler jumps in. She's like, "Oh, and this is my favorite line of dialogue right here." And she says something, and they all just go quiet for a bit. And they're like, "Oh yeah," and then this is right here like that. And then it's like, well, she shouldn't be there. But they had some fun like funny stories and stuff. But like you can just YouTube stuff now, or they tell it on talk shows or whatever.
Like, yeah, it's like you're right, because that was before.
Like, let's hear it on Jimmy
YouTube,
Fallon.
where you're like. Yeah, it's like, how would you get these insights into stuff? You'd have to find it on the DVDs.
Yeah.
You know, and the extras.
So yeah, I remember the Mission Impossible 2 had some interesting extras. Or extras that I thought were interesting at the time. But that was a while ago.
Gosh, how long ago was that? That was like early aughts.
It's gotta be, well, like, so like Limp Bizkit was
Yeah, they did the theme
song and stuff.
Oh, that's right.
So it had to have been.
Now I know why you want to hate me.
Right. Oh, man. 2000. Mission Impossible 2 was 2000. Oh, yes.
God, that song.
And the Oakleys in that movie, and
product of its time.
Yeah. It was something, man.
So have you seen it again, like recently?
Yeah, I started it.
Does it
I was
hold
like,
up?
I should rewatch it. It holds up in the same way that the original one does.
But I feel like the original one is a little more timeless, maybe because it's not as like stylized, and it doesn't. They didn't have Limp Bizkit doing the remix of the theme song.
Yeah,
or cover of the theme song.
It's timeless in the same way that Face Off is. Like, it's real stylized. There's weird stuff that you just kind of have to go, okay, that's a thing.
Okay, all right.
They double down on the mask technology in that movie.
I feel like that was a real big part of the plot.
It was like, a huge part of the movie.
Like, oh my god, you're this person.
I'm this person.
Yeah. Did they do that at all in the first one?
It was more.
Was John Voight? No.
It was more realistic in the first one.
I need to watch it again.
Because the first
was Tom Cruise pretending to be John Voight's character at some point, or
he did at one point, and then he pretended to be just some other.
Because doesn't it
character.
like reveal like a betrayal or something?
Yeah,
he's like doing that. Yeah.
Ethan is right behind me.
Oh, Ethan. Oh, Ethan.
Ethan. Yeah. Anyway, yeah.
Ving Rhames.
Classic Tom Cruise stuff right there. I give Top Gun Maverick though, man. It was so good.
It was.
It was a movie that
watch
was.
It again.
I think I said this to you as we were leaving. I was like, this is a movie that was meant to be watched in the theater, and I feel like a lot of movies now are meant to be watched, like the home video release. That makes me sound really old. Like the streaming options and stuff. Yeah. The home video coming to you on Disney DVD and home video. Like they're meant to watch at home, and like that's where they're gonna live, as opposed to like certain movies that like I regret not seeing in the theater because I didn't know about them or various reasons. Like the Matrix, the original Matrix. Desperately wish I had seen that in the theater.
Yeah, me too.
Top Gun Maverick. That's a theater experience movie.
Top Gun.
Gun. Yeah, if I could find another showing of that, I'd go to it. The Batman. That was another prime example. Like, this movie, in my opinion, was meant to be seen.
Yeah.
In the theater, and then when you watch it at home, it harkens to that, and that's like part of the. Like,
Tom Cruise had he specifically said he didn't want them to release this on streaming like at the same time.
Yeah.
And I know you said Batman, but that one was like a week after it came out or something.
A couple of weeks, yeah.
Something.
Real close.
It was on HBO Max, so
it felt real close anyway.
And I mean, I guess that's at this, now in this, like, that's like a risk, I guess. It's like a calculated decision to decide, like, do we go theater only and then release it on streaming later? Or do we do both?
Well, they're learning to get real tight about their expectations, too, because Scarlett Johansson got really upset that they released Black Widow so quickly for, like, streaming. Mm-hmm. And she, like, there was, like, a lawsuit or something over that, where she was, like,
reading about that.
Very upset about it.
And I mean, is that because it really cuts into like like their cut of the box office, obviously, because
Could be.
Because they're not getting nearly as much money, I would imagine, from streaming. I mean, it's like music. I mean,
right. Well,
streaming music, you're not getting.
Disney was doing this thing where like the new movie, they would make it available for streaming, but you had to pay like $30 to watch it or something.
So basically, you had to buy it.
Yeah, but then it was just on streaming later.
Yeah.
So like you could wait and watch it at home, and I think it was like
Mulan. I think was where they were really.
Yeah.
One of the first ones on Disney Plus. They were talking. They were doing that.
Well, and I think it had to do with COVID too, and being like, well,
They're like, oh my god, nobody's gonna go to the theater. How the heck are we gonna make money on this?
Well, instead of your family going to the theater, like stay home and pay $30, and the four of you can just watch it there.
You could feel like you went to the theater because you spent so much money.
Right? No kidding.
Yeah. Yeah. This is one I think I'm definitely gonna have to buy this one when it comes out. But you're right. I mean, seeing it in theater is the way to do it, and I would think like an IMAX showing would be just the ultimate way to see it.
Absolutely.
So
there was a lot of stuff. I think one of the things that really made it good for me too is there was a lot of references without feeling like it was an inside joke. You know.
You mean like referencing the first movie?
Yeah.
Or the events of in the universe, I guess?
Yeah. You know, there was kind of that these people were giving somebody a hard time or whatever, and then, it's Maverick, and then he's like their instructor, and they're all like, oh, man. Which is kind of the same reaction he had when, with that Maverick had with Kelly McGillis.
Oh, because he was hitting on her.
Because he was
trying
hitting
to pick
on
her
her
up in the bathroom, and then the next morning...
She's the instructor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
so
just like, oh crap.
There's kind of that kind of stuff that it was like fun. Again, it propped up the story though. It wasn't like let's reference this stuff for
there weren't
the
any
sake of it.
Real
Winks.
ham-fisted wink and nod kind of, like hey, remember this from the first one.
Even Rooster like playing the piano and wearing like the Hawaiian shirts. I think
he was dressed just like his dad. Yeah, when he came into the bar.
Yeah, I think
that's
like propped up his character though.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I didn't feel like it was like some just gratuitous usage of, hearkening back to the old one. I'm like, I thought it was cool. I mean, it was fine. Because that, again, you got a nice emotional, reaction from Tom Cruise, from Maverick, because he's like, my backseater, my partner, he played that song too.
In my head, I was like, okay, do you think Rooster would have known how to play the piano? I was like, I bet he would have. I bet his mom would have been like, well, your daddy... I could hear that, and he's like, I don't want to practice the piano, Mom. And she's like, well, your daddy played the piano. He wants you to learn.
He was alive
when
the events of the first one happened.
Yeah.
Because he was like, he's sitting on the
He was
piano.
real
So, I
little.
mean, it's like, it's possible that he was interested at that time. And like you said, I mean, yeah. You were saying, like, well, his mom... It was like, your dad played piano, so we should play.
Yeah, it was a nice tight movie. Yeah. I mean, it was not like short, but it was tightly put together. I think.
Yeah, it was. I didn't feel like it was like I didn't get like bored. I didn't feel like it was like corny or like, oh my god, again.
Right.
Although I will say, I think I said this when we watched it. I'm like, John Hamm. I'm like, I feel like he's just, I don't know, like. I really like him, and he's an attractive guy. So I mean, he's cool, and he's been in some, obviously he's been in big stuff. I mean, he was in Mad Men,
Baby Driver.
But I'm like, I feel like some of like the looks on his face, like the reactions that he gave, and I'm just like, to me, like watching this movie, I'm like. He kind of felt kind of corny, like
a little bit.
I'm like, I don't know if he was exactly right for that role.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like they just saying. Like they're like, oh, who's available? John Hamm. Hey, you want to be in the Top Gun Maverick?
He would have been like, yes, I do.
Yes,
I was just about to lobby to get into this movie.
But I'm like, and I really like John Hamm.
Yeah.
And
he's one
I
of
need
those.
To watch Mad Men.
He's one of those guys who, other than Mad Men, he's like at his best when he's almost a caricature of himself. So he was in Bridesmaids.
Was he?
Yeah, he had a real bit part where he was the main girl's, like, she had a friends with benefits arrangement with him, and he was like real upfront about it. They were upfront about it with each other, like, but he was like, yeah, well, you're my number 3. And like his character in that movie was like a weird, like, I don't know, overly promiscuous caricature of himself that worked really well in the movie. You know, so yeah, there's just, I think that's like when he's at his best most of the time.
Yeah, so I'm just
like
kind of like
serious John Hamm.
I'm like, is like an authority figure in the Navy, like we're supposed to believe. I was kind of disappointed also that even though I'm saying I didn't really like him in the movie, I'm like, I was kind of disappointed we didn't actually see him fly, because in the first one, you know, the people in that role, like Tom Skerritt and Michael Ironside, like they would fly, they flew training missions, and in this one it's just Maverick that flies as an instructor.
Well, that was I think that was Iceman's pulling the strings, though. Like, that was his thing. He was like he's gonna Maverick. Do it. Don't worry about it. You need to let him do his thing.
Admiral Kazansky.
Yeah. That's right. Admiral Iceman. And I think that was the impression I got, and that's why Hamm was.
Well, that's true, because I guess, big spoiler, once Iceman dies,
right?
Then John Hamm's like, he's like, I'm sure you feel bad about your friend dying, and he's like, but you're no longer, you know, just, I know you probably want to take some time off, so just go. And he's like, no, I want to get back. You know, Maverick's like, no, I want to get back into training. He's like, no, actually, you're fired.
Basically, you're fired. Gone. Yeah, you can retire, or we can like retire you.
So I guess at that point, would John Hamm would he have been flying training missions?
Yeah, if they did any flying or whatever. And so that was like I thought in this movie too, it was cool the way that they explored leadership, which is always like a very kind of like a big deal for me in movies, especially, and how like John Hamm, much as like we kind of dislike his character, much as we're meant to dislike his character,
right? Yes, obviously. Yeah.
He had some good points though. You know, he was like, you've only taught them that they can't do it. Like, you need to show them that these things can be done. Like, and then, you know, in typical Maverick style, he steals an airplane to show them that it can be done.
Well, because like after John Hamm, like after he fires, what was his call sign? What was John Hamm's call sign?
Vice.
So like after Vice fires Maverick, then he starts talking about, so there's the whole mission, there's like very specific like parameters, like they have a certain time limit that they had set. They have like very, very aggressive low elevation that they have to keep the planes at. Mm-hmm. And like as soon as he comes in, he's like, okay, we're adding more time, we're adding elevation. Yeah. Like he's like making it easier for him. And then that's when Maverick like steals the plane and then just like flies in and does it all on the original very risky, you know, parameter. And
it does it shorter than the original time frame. Yeah. And it was so that was a cool thing to me of like reminding these guys who are ace pilots, or technically not aces, who are like the top and the best hot shots.
They were all like the top, like best of their classes.
And every time they did, you know, dogfight simulations or whatever, Maverick would just mop the floor with them. And it was like, there's like a leadership element in that of like reminding people like there's a reason you are teaching this specifically. Like these are your credentials, but also you have to show them that what you're asking them to do can be done sometimes.
Yeah, because it was like, it was very like pretty much until that point, it was all just very discouraging because of it, you know, like you said, Tom Cruise was mopping the floor with them. They were failing their, you know, hitting the, you know, they were having a lot of trouble staying within the guidelines of the, you know, of the mission. So.
They were pulling so many G's and twisting so much that one of the guys like passed out while he was flying and tunneled out.
So that's one thing. When that happened, And I mean, that's a very real thing that can happen. You know,
Yeah.
you pull too many G's and you just pass out. But like Maverick was like, he's like, okay, I'm trying to get a missile lock on him to get the tones to wake him up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, these planes have something. I forget the acronym. It's basically like a terrain avoidance like system that pretty much like a safeguard. So if that happens to them and the plane, you know, noses down and they start losing altitude and stuff, it has like a self-correcting feature. It's like that where it will pull the plane up and level it out, and then they'll wake up.
Not
like,
in this universe.
So I'm like, and I'm like, as that was happening, I'm like, is this system going to kick in? And it's like, oh, Maverick, the more dramatic, like he's trying to get the lock on and get the tone in his ear to wake him up. And he's like, oh my God, pull up. Yeah. But yeah, I'll have to find, there's a YouTube video of the heads up display and the audio of a pilot that happened to a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
Where he pulls too many G's and he's just like, he passes out, plane, starts to lose altitude. And then, and you can hear the bitchin' Betty is what they call the female voice. Like it's an actual, person recorded like these warnings where it's like, pull up, terrain, pull up. And you can hear all that stuff. And then suddenly this safeguard system kicks in and, so you can see the little like altitude things go like, as the nose comes up. And
interesting.
I want to say it's like a terrain avoidance collision, some like TAC gas. It's got some kind of funky acronym. I'll have to find that video and send it to you.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, that was, they're pulling, and they were saying like the parameters of the mission, like you're going to have to pull these insane G forces, and you're probably going to like take the plane out of like the physical tolerance of, you're probably going to exceed the tolerances of the plane. So basically the plane's going to be scrapped when you come back because it's not safe to fly anymore.
Right.
So, it's auto GCAS, automatic ground collision avoidance system. That's what it is. So, yeah. But I mean, that was obviously dramatic purposes. Like Tom Cruise is going to get behind him and he's going to fly. If need be, he's going to fly right into the ground with that guy. And then it was kind of cool, though. They kind of turned it on its head a little bit. Like, so the guy recovers. He wakes up and they're like, oh, my God, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm cool. Thank you. And then, so Maverick's like, all right, everybody, we're good. And then suddenly you see, like, feathers come. He's like, bird strike, bird strike.
Yeah.
And then Phoenix ends up, like, her and Bob. Good old Bob. Her and Bob got to punch out because their engines, they lose their engines and they're going to crash. So
Bob's call sign was the best.
Bob.
You my backseater? Yeah. What's your name? Bob. What's your call sign?
Bob. Yeah, he was great. He's Bill Pullman's son.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So yeah, I was reading like an article where it's like, his dad in Independence Day was also flew in an F-15 or F-18, but he was in the studio.
Right.
And they were actually in the planes for Maverick, which is awesome. Like you get some great footage from that, and you can read a bunch of articles about how they had to cram all the camera equipment in there, and they had to make sure that it wouldn't draw power like from the plane itself, like it wouldn't affect the operation of the plane at all, and all that. Then it had they rigged it up. Somehow they got it to work, and so they got these awesome flying shots. And because they did that in the original. I mean, all the cockpit stuff though was fake, like the shots of them in the cockpit, like when when they have their mask dangling and stuff in the first one, that was like
some of it
was like
spliced.
Simulator stuff, but like the actual but they did film the footage of the planes flying.
Yeah,
but like when they had those close-ups of them, where they're having their quippy dialogue or having their internal struggles and stuff.
Yeah.
That was all like in like a fake cockpit in a studio.
Right.
So for this one, like they just dialed that up because not only do you get the flying footage, like the exterior, but like the interior shots is actually while they're flying the plane.
Yeah. Well, in the original Top Gun, they flipped some of their like exiting footage or whatever is one way, and then for the return they just flip the footage. so it looks like they're flying the other way. And there's like one or two reused like shots in there.
Yeah.
But like now that I like was thinking about it, I was like, oh wait, we saw that earlier, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's like,
also when you're like flying though, a lot of that would look the same.
Right.
So it's fine.
Yeah, I was reading like I think on IMDb where they're talking about, the trivia, talking about the filming of this one. It's like the actors, when they were sitting in the planes and they were doing the aerial filming, like they had to worry about like their own makeup and like all the, like they had to make sure that everything was set, because like once they were strapped in and they were up in the air, like
that was it.
They were the ones handling the filming. Because there's no like telemetry link from the crew on the ground or the director and them. They're just like, they got to get all the shots and like do the dialogue and all this, record whatever dialogue they're supposed to record. So that's wild. That's just crazy. It's cool stuff, man. It's great.
Behind the scenes are going to be great. I bet there'll be some cool.
If there's a documentary,
DVD stuff in there.
I'm gonna have to watch a documentary on the making of this one. So
yeah. So I guess we should talk about Val Kilmer.
Real
quick here.
Okay.
To me, he was like one of the icons of my childhood a little bit.
For sure.
Top Gun, Tombstone, Heat, Batman.
The Saint.
The Saint. Oh my goodness.
Him and Elizabeth Shue.
Yeah.
My heart doesn't work. I need medicine for whatever. She had something.
Yeah.
Her character had something with her heart, I think.
Yeah, and it just, I don't know. When I heard like a year or so ago that he had like throat cancer and basically wasn't talking and stuff, I was like, that's like just one of the saddest things,
Yeah,
and,
for sure.
And then they were like, I remember hearing that they rewrote the movie to accommodate that, and that Iceman was gonna like have a bigger role. I'm kind of curious now what that would have been, but
like before he had cancer,
yeah,
if he would have been in it.
And then so like in the movie they communicate mainly via text message, which kind of makes sense,
right?
Like, that works, and it works really smoothly without feeling like a shoehorned in adjustment.
Well, because they write his like I don't know if they specifically say throat cancer in the movie, but I mean they write his ailment into it.
They say and I don't know if they say what it is. It's like when Maverick goes to his house and sees his wife, she's like, it's back.
Yeah, it's like, it's gotten worse.
It's back. It's worse. It's painful for him to speak, and we're not telling anybody yet. And
I thought that was good. I mean, I liked how they did that.
It was.
And so like before you see him, it's all like text messaging. Like he's not talking to him on the phone because he can't talk.
Yeah. And then he's like wearing a scarf the whole time to hide his because he's got a trach in real life, and so yeah, he's like typing on a computer to communicate, but face to face. I think
he only types like one sentence, and he just keeps me like pointing at it.
Pointing at it, yeah. I think he says like a couple of things. Yeah. But there's a scene where he's like pointing at it, and then as they're leaving, he does speak a little bit.
Well, and they did that with AI. Like they I don't know if I'm sure they took like samples of him speaking previously, and they made it, and it didn't sound like fake. Like it sounded like what you would expect from somebody in that.
Well, you can get it's still a little janky, but there's a couple of softwares where you can read into it, and it will. You can tell it, okay, now that I have this sampling of Nate's voice, read this book, and it will read it in your voice.
Ooh.
Like I said, it's still a little. It's not super great because it doesn't know when to do like inflections or like when this character would talk excitedly, but so I'm not surprised that they put that together. And it was
cool though.
It was like it's very cool. And I was just. You heard him speak a little bit. He's like, "Who's the better pilot?"
It's like, why you got to go ruin a cool moment?
Having a nice moment here. Would have cracked me up if you'd been like, "We're having a nice moment here, Ice Man."
If you would have been original. Like, Ice Man.
Yeah, that bite.
Yeah, you can tell. I think you can tell. Like it looks like he's got like dentures or something. Like I'm sure he's had.
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. He's been through a lot.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it was nice to see Val Kilmer. See him in the movie, and because I feel like the reveal that he was Admiral Kazansky was not. I feel like that was kind of recent, like shortly, maybe even shortly before like the movie was released.
Yeah, well, I didn't remember hearing it at all. I learned it, as I was watching the movie.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, that kind of makes sense. He was, he had that kind of drive to.
Yeah, you're like it makes sense that Iceman
would climb up and stuff. Yeah.
Well, and they like address that with Tom Cruise. They're like highly decorated, like 30 plus year career.
Yeah, they're like you could be a 2-star or whatever,
and you're a captain.
And it's captain. Yeah.
Captain. Like, why is that? Yeah. So yeah, it's just kind of like this contrast between the very and that was in the first one too. Like Iceman, like they're like he's the best.
Yeah.
And he was he was a cocky SOB, just like all of them. Obviously.
Just like all of them.
But he was the best, and Maverick was second best.
And they kind of make a joke about that too in the movie when they're like, we didn't want you, but this comes up from on high that you're gonna come and do this. They say that you're the best, and he's like, well, I graduated second in my class.
Actually, I was second in my class.
Just want to imagine expectations.
That was,
and I was like, oh, that was good.
Funny. Yeah, that was a good one. I remember that. Man, yeah. But it's like, okay, so if Goose wouldn't have died, if that mission where where the plane went down and they had to punch out and everything, then if that wouldn't happen, would Maverick have won?
Yeah, he would have.
Competition.
He would have. I think that's
because him and Goose obviously were awesome together.
Yeah,
and they would have just taken that.
I think that's what the movie kind of leads you to believe too, a little bit. Like it would have been. I mean, it wouldn't have been easy
because they were setting you up for that. Because they're like, oh, he's the underdog and nobody likes him, and they only picked him because the first place guy quit.
Yeah,
and they're like, oh my god, he's gonna be number 1. And like, no, he's number 2.
Yep.
So
yeah, so I think he would have been had Goose not died.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. Well, and you as the viewer, you're like, you hate Iceman because you're like, oh, he's a jerk and he's the best, and why does he got to be the best? And Maverick's the one we want to win,
right?
And it's cool. Got to watch them both again.
Yeah,
that's why. I mean, before we started tonight, I was like, I should try to find my DVD of Top Gun. I'm like, I know I have it, but I can't find it. But like I said, I can stream it on Paramount.
So. You can stream it. Yeah, that's great.
And it probably is going to look better on Paramount streaming than my DVD.
Possibly.
Well, so there's a DVD. This is totally off topic, but of Top Gun. But there's a DVD I have of the X-Files movie, Fight the Future.
Yeah.
That came out in like '98, I think. So I popped the DVD. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this. I was going through the TV show, and I was like, okay, we're at the point in the show when this movie came out. So I finished the episode, the season before that, and I'm gonna pop the movie in and watch it. And I put the DVD in my Xbox and to watch it, and the picture was like super small. Like it chopped it, like it was very tiny. I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Your Xbox can't handle it.
I don't think. I mean, it should be able to play it fine. I think it's some issue. I Googled it a little bit, and other people had similar issues with that. And I think it's probably just an older DVD.
Yeah,
it's not a Blu-ray; it's an older DVD. So I ended up like renting it on a streaming service so I could actually watch it, because I'm like, I could try to watch this, but I'm like, no, I can't do this. So, I wouldn't be surprised if my Top Gun DVD, if I find it, would do the same thing. So
that's true.
And another, like, speaking of like old DVDs, like I have a DVD of Saving Private Ryan that is probably like when it first came out on DVD.
Yeah.
So like I watched it on DVD and it played fine on my Xbox. So I mean, it probably varied. I mean, some of those old DVDs might work, some might not. But like the quality was terrible, and I'm like, I bet you they just took the VHS version and just like slapped it on, like transferred it to DVD.
Most of them, that's what they did.
Because I'm like, it looks bad.
So it was a big deal when The Godfather came out on Blu-ray, because they did like a lot of restoration to make it look and sound really good. And then so like watching it, because I had it on DVD, I think I have it on Blu-ray now, or maybe I rented it, or anyway. So I had watched it on DVD, and I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's what I remembered and stuff. And then, it was Brian. He was like, oh, I have it on Blu-ray. You should watch it on Blu-ray because there's a big difference. And I did. And I was like, oh, dang, there is a substantial difference here. The same for like A New Hope. When that first came out on Blu-ray, I popped that in. And even on like the dinky TV I had at the time, I was like, this looks, just that opening crawl of the ship coming across the screen was amazing detail in there. So sometimes they really go through, especially when they moved to Blu-ray. They did some restoration on some movies, but other ones, like you said, they were just like,
well, and I mean, I bet since that was, like I said, that was probably like the first DVD version of it that they made. I'm sure they've had, because that movie came out in 90. Was that 95 too? Was that 1995?
Maybe.
Because that was kind of in that height of Tom Hanks, like his awesomeness.
Tom Hanks almost made that like intense movie star.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Hanks, my boy. Love Tom Hanks.
Absolutely.
Although I will say I haven't seen a ton of his new stuff. Like mid 90s Tom Hanks is my boy. I love Tom Hanks. Yeah, I'm sure that they've probably had subsequent versions, and I'm guessing there's a Blu-ray of Saving Private Ryan that probably looks much better.
There's gotta be
than what I have. So, yeah, but yeah, I really want to watch it. And Top Gun, like the first one is, it's kind of like it's a nice little like treat. It's not a super long movie, so you can just like watch it and be like, yeah, it's cool. All right, yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
and it's not like you're missing like layers of things or snappy dialogue like we said.
It's a very straightforward plot, and it's not any worse because of it.
No, it's great.
Nothing wrong with it.
It doesn't like pretend to be, I guess, more than it is. Like
exactly.
It's kind of like
it's
fun
what it is.
Thing.
Like the big plot twist is like Goose dying.
Yeah,
and it's not really a plot twist. It's just it's how the story unfolds.
Yeah.
It adds a degree. I think it adds a degree of like realism.
Like a conflict that
because a lot of movies now, if they kill somebody off, that they're not really dead. Even my beloved Star Wars has that problem. The Marvel new movies are pretty notorious for it. Anytime anybody dies, with the exception of like Quicksilver, they come back later and stuff. So it's just kind of
like that. I mean, does it even follow the rule? Like, well, I didn't see a body. We didn't actually see a body. So
sometimes you do see the body, and you're like, no, they still come back. So
yeah, there wasn't any like trickery with that. Like, it doesn't turn out like that was an imposter goose. The real goose is in a holding cell and blah blah blah.
I remember seeing an interview with one of the original animators for Bambi, and they were talking about how when Bam, I guess spoiler alert for this 60-year-old movie.
More than 60 years. God, when the hell did that movie come out?
I don't even know.
30s?
I kind of want to know. 40s? You think so?
Wait. I'm going to say
were we doing talkies at that point?
I'm going to say 1951.
Okay, interesting. 1942.
Oh, dang.
Hour and 10 minutes. That is a punchy movie by today's standards. So in that movie, I saw like an interview with one of the original like creatives that were working on it, and they were like, what made Bambi so impactful compared to some of our other movies is that like when his mom dies, that's it. There's no like Prince Charming to come and kiss her awake. There's no magic spell to be broken. It's she's dead. That's it. And you never see her again. Yeah.
Right.
And it does lend some seriousness to your universe. I mean, not that maybe it's liberal, really, really generous to say that there's a Top Gun universe, but kind of, I guess.
I mean,
we have two movies. There's a universe now.
Hey, I'll spend some time in that universe.
But like even with Mavericks, talk to me, Goose. We never hear Goose talk to him.
Yeah, no, it's
he's gone.
And he does that in the second one.
He does. He's got that memory. It's almost like his mantra is what I was thinking of. It's like he just...
Because, I mean, obviously it's something that, he has lived with and brings him pain.
Yeah.
This event. And now he's dealing with Goose's kid, And I think Goose's... Does Rooster say, talk to me, Dad? Does he do that?
He did.
Did he do that?
Yeah, and one of them was like, "Talk to me, Dad."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Ooh,
Goose, Rooster! I just want to
they-
give you a big hug."
right."
I was actually kind of sad that Meg Ryan didn't show up in this one, but they specifically address,
Yeah.
they say that she died.
Yeah.
So
And I think that would have kind of saturated the movie a little bit unnecessarily.
yeah,
I would have loved to
they
have
didn't
seen
they
her.
didn't need her to come back.
Love Meg Ryan, but like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have. Yeah, you're right. I mean, like we joked earlier about like Tim Robbins being in it, but it's like, you got Iceman and you got Maverick, and then you have some flashbacks.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
It
They
would've
mentioned
been-
that Meg Ryan's character was dead.
It would have been cool if
It-
in the role of Ed Harris, who was basically he was on the side of, we don't need actual pilots anymore. We need people to just do the
Yeah, because
UAVs.
he was backing a drone program.
Yeah.
So obviously he isn't concerned with.
So like if that character had been played by Tim Robbins or like
That would have been
somebody like
fun.
that would have been fine. That would have been like a cool nod of like these guys who were together went very different ways. But also it was fun.
Right. I want to say I feel like sorry, I'm typing. I feel like they were trying to specifically fill. James Tolkien is the guy who he was that crusty bald
Oh, okay, yeah.
officer dude on the carrier. I feel like they were trying to hit that vibe with Ed Harris.
Yes, I agree. And I'd say that was successful too.
Ed Harris is great.
Harris
I
is
love
great.
Ed Harris.
Sure.
And I feel like he did a really good job in that too. I almost feel like I would have like, what if Ed Harris had been in John Hamm's role for this?
That would have been better.
You think so?
I think John Hamm. I think they should have just switched those roles completely. John Hamm should have been like drones, obviously.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even. Man, why didn't they talk to us first?
That would have been the Lynch. Well, even Tom Cruise makes mistakes,
True, but he's still successful.
but he's still successful. So
Yeah, that would have made because
he just missed out on a great learning opportunity.
Yeah, because I feel like John Hamm, because he could totally pull off that cool, like, aloof kind of like, we don't need humans anymore. Like this innovator kind of like forward thinking kind of guy.
Yeah, that felt weird, because Ed Harris.
He's an old dude. Like, why the hell would he be shilling for drones? He would be the old school.
It felt like there should have been a story there.
Yeah.
But like, also definitely not, because again, it's not the Ed
the
Harris
movie's already
movie.
really long, so
It's Maverick.
yeah. But that would have been sweet. I feel like that would have fit better if Ham was the drone guy, because that's the only time you see him. Mm-hmm. You hear about him at the beginning, and then you see him when he shows up, and then he talks to Maverick after that first, that test pilot mission.
And that would
then
explain.
that's it.
That would explain then if Ed Harris was Vice, that would explain too why he doesn't go like fly with them, because he's older and your body can't take the G-forces
Right.
to do that very well. But he could still oversee the education and
Yeah,
stuff.
you
So
think-
I
I'm
think
like,
that would have made more sense.
John Hamm is not. I mean, he's not as old as Tom Cruise.
No, I don't.
And I'm like,
so.
does it really make sense that, because he was like in charge of the whole like air base, wasn't he? I mean, he was a really big like position. Like he had a big
I
responsibility.
got the impression that he was in charge of Top Gun.
Was that what he was?
That was my impression. I don't know. I'm not.
So I mean, I think. I mean, obviously it's a movie, but I think that he's too young. Like
maybe
his character, like, why didn't they switch that around? Man.
Yeah, you definitely get they don't say it, but you definitely get the impression that he in the movie is younger than Tom. He's younger than Maverick.
Yeah.
And the way he talks about Iceman makes it sound like, he's the guy I aspire to be.
Yeah, like he's taking orders from Iceman, the Admiral,
for
who's like in
sure.
charge of like everything, and then John Hamm is like,
Yeah.
he's still in leadership, but he's not Iceman. So yeah, man, Again, nothing against. I love John Hamm. He's great.
Yeah, I enjoyed John.
But I feel like
and
I
Ed.
do. Like we're saying, I feel like they should have flipped those around.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that would have
I'm sure there's
closed it.
lots of things that went into all the decisions they made, but you know. But I mean, you know, John Hamm did all right, and we weren't supposed to like him, like you said. And
yeah.
he's.
So I guess Tom, you know, when you listen to this, we just let us know when you want our help on the next project, and Nate and I will be there. It's cool, man.
If you wanna, if you wanna take us up flying,
the openeclectic@gmail.com.
Yep.
So
just drop us
a line and
drop
we'll,
us a message. And,
yeah, we monitor it actively, and we'll be there, man.
So I guess
we got you, boo.
Yeah, we got you, man. We got you. Maybe we could have a sit down, like we could all talk. You could explain it all to us, and we would.
Yeah,
you get John, you get Ed, you get Tom.
Be like, let's just run the lines again.
Can we do a table read?
Table read,
please.
Oh, that would be the greatest. That would be amazing to do like alternate casting table reads, like that. That would be it's just amazing.
Man, I'm sure. I mean, we're getting there with like deep fakes and stuff, like with the AI video technology. I'm like, when are we going to get to the point, like where, like you said, where we can just plug other actors into a role?
You know who would have been good in this movie? This actor right here, and then just like type that in, and be like, and go and watch the whole movie that way.
It'd be like running simulations with like data and stuff. But now we can actually like literally plug them in, and the computer will draw them into the movie and do the dialogue and all that stuff. Oh. That would almost feel like a perversion, also.
Right?
Like,
yeah.
Like we shouldn't be doing that.
Just because we can.
Yeah. Getting into Jurassic Park, which that's another thing. Because
I only saw the first one. I want to say maybe the second one. I watched them on Laserdisc at a friend's house, and I liked them. I just never felt super compelled to watch any of the other ones. I almost went.
Did you like the first one though? Like
I did. You know, it was great.
Yeah, I'm actually, you know, kind of in the same boat. Like I've seen obviously the first one, second one. I read the books
right
for those.
Michael Crichton.
Mm-hmm. I got my dad to read Jurassic Park lately.
Really?
Got him to get it on. He was asking me about this app, this app called the Libby app. Makes it really easy to check books out.
Yeah, it does. It's great.
So I'm like, oh man, Dad, you should read Jurassic Park. He's like, okay. And it's cool. So then I saw the third one, but that's it. Like I haven't seen any of the newer ones. And we just had a Jurassic Park movie come out last week. Or Jurassic World, I guess.
Well, final thoughts on Top Gun Maverick.
I guess if you're still listening...
Top Gun 2, Maverick still crying.
I guess if you're still listening and you haven't seen the movies, you should see, even though, you've been spoiled, still go see them. Still go see the newest one, Maverick, in theater if you're able to. Yes. Obviously, you should watch the first one because it's great. A piece of cinematic history and part of the story.
I think these are movies where you could watch Top Gun Maverick and then go back and watch the original Top Gun.
For the first time?
Yeah, for the first time and treat Top Gun like a giant flashback. Like, what happened back then?
That'd be cool.
Because it's been a while since I've watched Top Gun, and I'm watching it now, and I'm like, oh yeah, like the penny thing.
I might just watch it tonight. After we're done,
right?
I might just fire it up.
I might finish it. We'll see.
I know we're still. Obviously, we do this a lot. But like the opening credits, like the opening like text and stuff. I mean,
word.
It's the original.
It's the same.
It's the same text.
It's so good.
And they started out the same way, like the sun coming up or going down, whatever, on the lighting, that golden lighting, on the carrier, and it's all dramatic with the theme, slow with the theme song, and then suddenly danger zone.
Yes.
You got planes taking off. And you got the crew. You got the crew on the deck. Going like this,
doing the lights and the. Yeah, 100% great. Just fantastic.
Yeah, just you can't. It's not. you're not going to go wrong going to see this. I mean, we're nitpicking it, but excellent.
I feel like our nitpicks are like kind of weak.
Yeah, they're not even like, we're not leveling like super strong criticism.
No.
We're just like, I'm like, what about this? I don't know. Yeah, okay. We're not like, I hated this part, but overall it was okay. No, we're just like, no, it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's not a perfect movie,
Check it
and
out.
that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, and I saw that like somebody was saying, I again read it, IMDb was saying like with the way that they shot the cockpit stuff, and they decided to leave in like I don't know, there's some like mistakes maybe that like they made, I guess their characters made, and they're like, but they left it in, so they're just like, they're like, that makes it feel more real, and so it's not like, it makes it more enjoyable. So it's just
all the way.
So cool.
All the things.
And like, it wasn't overly, there was less music in this one. Like, I was kind of surprised that they, like, because the first one, it felt like they were like advertising for the soundtrack, like, while watching the movie, which is cool. I mean,
Kenny Loggins' Danger Zone, Take My Breath Away.
You got Playing with the Boys. You got,
there was a lot of amazingly iconic music in the first movie.
The Top Gun soundtrack is one of the first CDs I ever bought.
No kidding. Yeah, I believe it.
Wore it out, man. I listened to it a lot.
Yeah.
Funny story, and I know we're way over, but funny story. Back in like 1997, I was in my middle school band. I suggested to my band teacher that we play Top Gun for one of our one of our concerts, like in the spring. And, and she's like, "Cool, okay." So we did.
Nice.
We played the Top Gun like theme song. Like, it's great.
That's so cool.
Anyway, but like this, so the new one, there's a Lady Gaga. She does like the love theme song, Hold My Hand, but you don't hear that till the end.
It's fine.
And it's okay. And then like, other than that, the only other like pop music part is like on the beach. Mm-hmm. Well, then they have the Balls of Fire thing on the piano, but I don't really count that.
I don't count that, yeah.
So like, there's really only like two non-soundtrack, like two non-like score songs that are in the movie.
Yeah.
There's the beach. I don't even know what song that was. And then there's the Lady Gaga one at the very end. So I thought that was interesting. And I guess the plane that Maverick is working on at the beginning and then at the end is like his personal plane.
I believe
because
it.
he is a pilot. Tom Cruise is a pilot.
Yeah.
So he's like, you know what? Let's use my plane.
I'll use my plane.
Yes, Mr. Cruise.
He probably flew it onto the set.
Probably
on that strip. He was just like, well, I'll just bring it. That's how I'll come to work. What? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just fly in with
Actually, I'm flying there already, so just clear a hangar for me, all right? Thanks.
Buzz the tower. Is that I want to say, is that a Mustang? Is that
I don't know. I don't know my planes very well. I could point out an SR-71 Blackbird.
Well, okay, so talking about like fancy planes like that first plane that he flies, that test plane, and like that's pretty sweet. That was a cool plane.
Yeah,
Dark Star, I think is what they call it.
Yeah. It's like a prototype plane he was trying to get to Mach 10.
Yeah, so it's a P-51 Mustang that he was working on in the hangar. And they showed the Skunk Works logo, which is like a real like the top secret project division of Lockheed. Like it's the skunk that's on the tail of the plane. So they worked with it's Lockheed. So I guess they worked with the filmmakers to kind of get a level of realism and kind of to realize that test plane, the Dark Star, that they were working on. So that was cool. That was a sweet scene all by itself. Like,
yeah,
just getting that thing up in the air.
Right.
Like, that was awesome.
Start to finish, Top Gun Maverick.
Good. Yeah, we could talk forever. So
I really could.
Yeah, I really want to watch it again. Just so I need to get to that level of like nerddom with it, like because it's like talking about it now, like all this stuff is popping into my head where I'm like, oh my god, the test plane and this and that. And that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Gonna have to go see it again.
Obviously, so much more to unpack, but I might have to revisit. Maybe we'll have to do another follow-up episode in like a year.
Okay.
Be like, all right, you still liking it? Because like,
the answer's gonna be yes.
I mean, the answer's gonna be yes. Yeah, maybe it's a dumb question. It's fine.
No, I mean, I'm all for talking about more Top Gun.
Yeah.
Nate, okay, maybe, do like in a year, like maybe you should read that Top Gun Days book.
Yeah.
I was telling you about, and then maybe there'll be like some documentary stuff about the making of the second one by then. You can watch all that, and then we can revisit it, talk about it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I like that. I like the sound of that. Let's do it.
All right.
I don't feel like we need to rate the movie because it's going to be whatever scale. I'm going to have it.
Right.
Like I already said it was at 11.
That Buzz the Tower. So, I don't know what to say. That's.
Yeah.
Well, the original Top Gun lasted in theaters for like a really long time, and so I've seen people and they're like, I wonder how long this is going to last because it just keeps. It like all the showings stay, not sold out, but pretty full.
It'd be interesting to go see it again, like, I don't know, in like 3 or 4 weeks, if it's still out, like go see it again and see if there's still, like you said, if it's still full.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Because I was surprised. I thought it'd be like a half full theater at the most, and it was
me too.
Pretty
it
jammed.
Was packed.
Yeah.
I was very surprised how busy it was. I was like, my God. I was like,
are all these people here for Top Gun? I was like, what else is showing tonight? No, I think it's gotta be.
Yeah. And it was. I don't know if the other theaters were full for the other movies, but ours was full.
Yeah.
Like trying to reserve seats earlier that day, like my first choice, I'm like, it's just the front row. Can't do it.
Nope. Yeah. So we know at least 2 theaters, 2 showings were pretty much sold out.
Yeah, because I barely found 2 seats together for the one that we went to.
Yeah.
So.
Man.
Yep. All right, folks, go see it. Tom, again, much love. If you listen to this, shoot us an email and
I think when you listen to this, obviously.
Yeah, because he's going to.
Just let us know. We'd love to
probably
do it.
our third, our other
super fan,
other than Alexa and Andy.
Yeah,
and then it's Tom.
And then it's Tom, clearly.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
much love to Tom. Come and talk to us. We'd love to.
John also.
Do reach out.
Mr. Ham, if you want to discuss artistic things.
Artistic choice.
Craft, I guess.
Do you want to talk about tradecraft with the guys who don't actually do it? That'd be great.
Hey, I was in 2 plays in college.
I saw at least one of them, and that was very good. I remember that.
You don't have to lie. I liked it. I probably was not very good.
It was like the best part. The sleazy salesman, like the idiot salesman guy. That was great. Are you kidding?
Good times. Yeah. There's nothing else. There's really nothing else I could say. We could continue talking.
We could double the episode length. I don't think we should though.
We're already at 2 hours and 19 minutes. So with editing, I'm sure we can get that down to,
2 hours and 18 minutes.
Yes, 2 hours and 18 minutes. Yeah, so I don't know what we're going to talk about next time, but I know it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Because it always is, because we're great. Yeah. And but this has been a thoroughly enjoyable episode. I hope that everyone that listens enjoys it as much as we did talking about it. Check us out on all the socials. But be sure to download us on your favorite podcast service or app or whatever. And until we talk to you again, stay frosty.
I feel the need
for speed.
Ouch! Thank you so much for listening. You can find The Open Eclectic on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and MySpace. Want us to ramble on about something specific or have a comment on what you just heard? Send us an email at theopeneclectic@gmail.com. We now have a Ko-Fi if you feel like supporting the show. That's ko-fi.com/theopeneclectic. Or support the show by leaving us a review. Thanks. We hope you'll join us again next time on The Open Eclectic.